You know, every generation seems to have their favorite Star Wars game. For 90s gamers, they might point to the X-Wing / TIE Fighter games, maybe Shadows of the Empire, or possibly the amazing Dark Forces 2. For us early 2000s gamers, we had an insane amount to choose from, with greats like Jedi Academy, Bounty Hunter, Battlefront, Republic Commando, just all sorts of great stuff, with the only correct answer of course being Knights of the Old Republic. However, for gamers growing up in the 7th generation of consoles, the 360 and PlayStation 3 era, there was far less Star Wars games coming out. I mean, at times it almost felt like a desert when it came to new Star Wars content, with only a few games releasing. But, like with all deserts, there was an oasis out there, a single game that really defined that generation of Star Wars games. I am talking of course about the one and only Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Now, compared to a lot of other Star Wars games, Force Unleashed is pretty unique, taking place between Episode 3 and 4, one of those time periods that until recently was rarely ever touched on. And for good reason. Most other time periods in Star Wars, such as before or after the movies or during the Clone Wars, all have a wide range of opportunities for original stories to take place in, due to how easy you can maneuver your plot so that it doesn't too heavily affect the continuity of the movies. But between episodes 3 and 4, well, you would normally be kind of limited for ideas. Luckily, the developers at LucasArts had a great vision, and after much deliberation, they finally pitched their idea to George Lucas himself to make a game about a Wookiee. As you can probably imagine, this did not go very far.
He laid out that there were things that you had to hit in a Star Wars story, that you had to have adventure, that you had to have humor.
And then we show him the next presentation is this Wookiee game, and he looks at it and he goes, so I just spent 45 minutes talking to you about the importance of drama, and you present me a game concept where the main character doesn't talk? So he wasn't a big fan of the Wookiee game.
Now, as silly as that pitch might have sounded, it did help spark the idea of having a larger-than-life character that can take on waves and waves of stormtroopers, leading them to the idea to instead go back to the basics and create the game around a Force user. But to keep that superhero-esque feel to it, this Force user would be able to do insane things with the Force never before seen, and you can really understand what they were shooting for by just looking at all the amazing concept art there is out there for the game. Slicing through walkers, decimating TIEs and stormtroopers alike, killing rancors with ease. Obviously, these images got the creative juices flowing for just how far they could push things. Eventually, a couple tech demos were made to show off this idea, and after seeing it in action, they were so sold on this being the way to make the game stand out, they apparently even made the focus on Force powers their team motto going forward.
You know, what's the premise of the game? Kicking someone's ass with the Force.
What is the core gameplay?
Kicking someone's ass with the Force.
On top of this renewed vision for the game, George Lucas even gave them permission to give Vader a secret apprentice, which story-wise was a huge opportunity for them. I mean, not only does it solve how this character would be implemented into the universe, but marketing-wise, let's be real, the idea of playing as Vader's apprentice really helped sell the game. Unfortunately, this also came with a downside. They would now have to find a way to write and create a story that would be deep and engaging, while at the same time not being so grand that it too directly impacts the movies. And this is where George Lucas's somewhat direct involvement in LucasArts was a pretty big help.
That he had checked off basically yes, 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 yes all the way through, added a couple of great comments.
Bail Organa did this, and Leia was doing this, and it's like, oh my God, you know, this is the absolute source material for this great saga.
Throughout the creative process, George Lucas would offer information as to what the original main characters were doing around this time period, as well as suggested and approved the new characters the team would end up placing into the story. It's really fascinating hearing LucasArts talk about how involved George seemed to be in a lot of these projects. In my Republic Commando video, I mentioned how the unique color-coordinated armor also came about because of George Lucas advising them to change from the basic white armor they had originally planned, because he wanted them to look somewhat according to their personalities to help people identify with the characters even more. Just always really cool to see how much he directly impacted a lot of these games. And his assistance with the Force Unleashed didn't just end in the early story planning, but he apparently also encouraged them to team up with ILM, his visual effects company that helped make Star Wars what it is today. He had them use ILM to scan and track the actors' facial expressions while recording them, which was pretty advanced for the time. Because of this, they were advised to find actors who not only sounded the part, but who looked and could act the part as well. Now, we'll be going over all the different characters as they appear when we go through the actual game itself. But for now, I really should mention at least that this idea for using ILM to really capture the actors was a big part of why Sam Witwer was given the chance to audition for the role of Starkiller in the first place.
I don't know how this happened, but at some point someone said, and let's pretend like it was George, right? So here goes.
Yeah.
All right, you know what you should do for video games is you should hire
That's him.
A guy who looks like he doesn't just sound like the part, but he looks like the part, and we can use our ILM technology to put him in the game. That'd be interesting.
So my buddy says, you got to send me your headshot and your reel. And then he slipped it into the pile, and I happened to look like how they wanted the character to look. You know, this artist created this piece of art that looked somewhat like me.
I'll be honest, I could watch Sam Witwer interviews all day long. I mean, talk about someone who really understands Star Wars. And he actually goes on in this interview to explain how it was his deep understanding of Star Wars that really got him the part.
Then I came in for an audition, and that's when me being a Star Wars nerd helped, because there was a scene we were doing, and the character's supposed to start in the scene meditating. And after a while, the director's like, we've done this scene 4 times, and you've done it different. But the meditation, why are you playing it so tense? The meditation, you're so tense in the meditation. And I said, he doesn't know how to meditate. And the director's like, what? He's a Sith. He thinks this is how you do it. And you force the pieces together because this is my job. The Force belongs to me. So I was like, Vader would never have taught him how to find inner peace. He would have taught him to do the opposite. And when I did that, I saw a bunch of Lucasfilm people behind this glass wall at the studio, and they were all starting to look at me and talk about, and they were like, wait, what the, what's he doing? And I was told that was when I got hired for Force Unleashed. They're like, the moment you geeked out on what the Sith would have taught is when you got the role.
I mean, it is so refreshing to hear someone who is clearly passionate about Star Wars using that knowledge to bring their performance to that next level. And he has continued to bring that same energy into all of his future projects. And oh boy, has he done some impressive work in the Star Wars universe since this game. Again, we'll talk more about the other characters as they appear, but all of them also worked with ILM to capture not just their voice, but their performances as well, giving many of the cutscenes a movie-esque feel to them. Eventually, the game was released on September 16th, 2008, and man did it sell like hotcakes. In only 2 years, it managed to sell over 7 million copies, and was the fastest selling Star Wars game of its time. However, I should mention its high sales numbers could also be because this game came out for everything. It wasn't only on the 7th generation of consoles and PC, but was also on the PlayStation 2, Wii, a PSP and DS version, a Nokia phone version. I mean, they went all out, and I'm not sure if those separate versions were really calculated into the sales numbers or not. But it doesn't really matter too much, because despite them being on lesser hardware, there are a lot of people out there that absolutely love those versions of the game. Now, after the release, there was a question going around about if the game was considered canon or not. But the reality is, Star Wars canon in what is now called Legends was rather, well, loose. For the most part, George Lucas held to the belief that the only true canon was his movies, and everything else was simply stories that he had no problem changing if he ever wanted to. A good example of this is how most of us would look at the Thrawn book series and the X-Wing book series as the true post-Episode 6 canon. However, they include things about the Jedi and the Clone Wars that Lucas had no problem changing when making the prequels, because he is the creator and his movies reign supreme. Because of this, the canon kind of worked more like a tier system, with the movies being S tier and many of the higher quality books and games in A and B tier, with others further down. Everything still worked alongside one another and tried not to take away from any pre-existing stories, so there was still this greater lore of Star Wars that did fit rather neatly together. However, in the end, the only true canon is what George Lucas directly created, and everything else existed around it in an organized manner. And for the most part, it was kind of up to the fandom to decide what they felt was canon or not. Sure, some of the really good stories are easy to accept into the greater lore, like Knights of the Old Republic. Others might be considered just fun stories, like the tale of Skippy the Jedi Droid. Man, I miss those comics. Either way, the question still remains. Where did The Force Unleashed sit in all of this? At least in the eyes of the developers. Well, in an interview, Sam Witwer said that everyone who worked on the game always kind of considered it its own universe, which is why the Force behaves in such an extreme and different way. Apparently, Lucas told him to think of each Star Wars project as its own little campfire to tell stories around, and it's okay if the Force acts differently in the games versus the books or versus the movies, so long as it remains true to the foundational philosophy around it. With that said, considering Lucas was someone involved with the game, there is nothing wrong with considering at least many of these story aspects as canon if you want. I mean, it definitely has a better claim to be considered canon than many other fun games out there. Now, I'm going to be honest here. Up until now, I have only played through this game all the way through maybe twice. I got it for my birthday, I played through it, thought it was fun, and then went back to playing Jedi Academy or Outcast whenever I wanted that Star Wars action fix. I'm not sure if it was because I've never really been into the whole standard hack and slash genre of games, or something else, but for some reason back then I really wasn't enthralled by the game in the same way many others were. Again, I didn't find it bad or anything, I actually enjoyed it, but I've always been rather indifferent to it as well. Because of this, after seeing this game recommended so often in the comments section of my Jedi Knight series of videos, I figured I should probably go back through and give it another shot, to see if this time it can actually draw me in the same way it has for many others out there. So without further ado, let's finally jump in and check out the iconic Star Wars The Force Unleashed. The good old opening crawl. This time explaining to us how the new Empire is in control of the galaxy, and the Jedi Knights have all but been destroyed, with only a few still left in hiding. Apparently, a Jedi has recently been located on Kashyyyk, which is kind of weird when you consider that Kashyyyk was already filled with clones before Order 66. So, of all places to hide, it seems quite strange. In fact, it's downright stupid considering, according to the lore, this former Jedi arrived here after Order 66. I mean, of all places to try to hide out in the Empire, a world that is currently under the process of being subjugated seems really dumb. Fortunately, it does at least work as a good set piece for the intro, and it does have a really good intro.
Vader. We were ambushed upon arrival, but I have the situation well in...
I have no interest in your failures, Commander. I am here on a mission of my own.
Okay, come on. Starting the game off as Vader, just casually walking around slaughtering Wookiees was a great idea. Outside the simple badassness of the thing, it allows us to get introduced to the game through a character everyone knows, allowing people to kind of ease into the story just a bit. Plus, though on repeat playthroughs, walking slowly like this might seem a little annoying, if this is your first playthrough, the slower movement not only sells the overall feeling of Vader, but also puts you in a situation that encourages you to play around with the Force powers a bit. Once you figure out the buttons for things like Force Grip or Force Push, you become an absolute demon to the Wookiees, just demolishing everything in your path, which helps set the standard for what this game is supposed to be about. Right from the get-go, we're learning that the Force powers in many ways are our primary weapon, with the basic lightsaber as more of an accessory. That's not to say the lightsaber is worthless, obviously, I mean, as we unlock new combos, we'll be able to do far more with it, imbuing it with lightning or combining the strikes with force push, just a lot of cool stuff. But it is to say that the lightsaber is not the central focus of the game, and instead, we should look towards our force powers to help get us through most of our engagements. Another positive of saying the intro on Kashyyyk is how everything here is made of wood, which sounds kinda strange to say like that, but you see, LucasArts implemented a few systems in the game to make sure that you really felt like you were impacting the world you were in. The first of these systems was the Havoc physics engine, which allowed for objects and people to be blasted all around as you used the Force in a pretty natural way. That combined with the implementation of digital molecular matter, which is what allowed for wood to splinter like wood or for metal to bend like metal, helped create a fantastic feeling whenever you used your powers, seeing everything act as you would sort of expect it to. On top of both of those systems, they also had Euphoria, which is what allowed for the AI to act more realistically to whatever you put them through. They might jump out of the way of a box flying at them, or one of the more funny features where they would desperately grab onto their friends trying to save them as you use the Force to try to toss them around. They would even still try to shoot you if you held them with the Force for too long, and the recoil would actually cause them to spin around like they were in 0G or something. The combination of these three systems really let you mess around with the Force powers in ways that you never really have been able to before, making even the most mundane thing like Force Push become something very entertaining. With this first level taking place around a bunch of wooden structures, it really lets us see how devastating the Force powers can be, and even now, over 15 years later, there really hasn't been anything like it since. Eventually, we make it over to this rogue Jedi's house, where we get introduced to the dueling system in the game. And I have to be honest, I kinda think this part is pretty lackluster. Maybe I was just spoiled with Jedi Knight's amazing system, but overall, things here feel sort of off. Many times, it feels like your guard is always too slow to be useful, and their guard just seems to pop up immediately, making landing hits feel more like a roll of the dice instead of actual skill. Fortunately, most of these fights will have some kind of gimmick to them that keeps them very interesting, and overall they're still a lot of fun. And it is worth saying that towards the end of the game, I did start to figure out how the game wanted me to fight in each engagement, making it a little bit easier. Plus, like I said before, I'm not really that big into the hack and slash genre of games, so some of the difficulty I might have had with the combat could have just been on me personally. Now, on top of this being our first duel, this is also where we're introduced to one of the unique ideas for the game, which are the QuickTime events. After beating a boss, we are then required to hit a few buttons for a nice cinematic kill. And I have to say, this is one of those features where these days it does feel a little outdated, and as we move forward to the next level for our first real boss fight, I'll talk more about some of the minor issues I have with this implementation here. However, I will give it this. The cinematic kills that we can see later in the game do get pretty insane, and they do add a nice little flair to the game, which is always nice.
I sense someone far more powerful nearby. Where is your master?
The dark side has clouded your mind. You killed my master years ago.
Then now you will share his fate. A son.
Run!
Okay, let's hold up here for a second. This dude had a kid, and he chose to hide out on an occupied planet, thinking, what exactly? I mean, this doesn't really scream Father of the Year here if I'm being honest. Speaking of fathers, the voice of Vader here is actually Matt Sloan. He does a great job and has now gone on to voice Vader in many other projects, including the reboot Battlefront games. Around this time, however, he was more widely known for playing Chad Vader on YouTube. In fact, on Xbox, if you kill 12 stormtroopers as Vader, you would get the achievement Worst Day Shift Manager Ever. Again, Matt does a really good job as Vader here, and I don't know if this was intentional, but I really love his delivery of the line, "A son?" It just sounds somewhat sad, like he's contemplating for a brief moment what it is that he thought he lost before giving back into his anger and thinking of ways he could exploit this powerful child to his own advantage. Again, it might be a coincidence, but it's how I like to headcanon it. I also want to mention, for many of these cutscenes they use the original John Williams tracks, so unfortunately I will have to dub over them slightly at times to avoid any copyright issues. I hate doing it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. The good part is, The Force Unleashed does make use of an original soundtrack here as well, composed by Mark Grisky, who is also the composer for greats like Knights of the Old Republic 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic. Now, while Mark was the composer for much of the original music, the actual main theme of the game was made by Jesse Harlan, who you might remember as the composer for Republic Commando. Either way, Vader slaughters all the Imperials who have seen the boy in order to keep him secret, and then we get a fantastic transition through the eyes of the child.
Come with me. More will be here soon. You were weak when I found you. Now your hatred has become your strength. At last, the dark side is your ally. Rise, my apprentice.
What is your will, my master?
Your training is nearly complete. It is time to face your first true test.
Your spies have located a Jedi?
Yes, Master Rom KOTOR. He is attacking a critical Imperial shipyard. Destroy him and bring me his lightsaber.
I shall leave at once, master.
The Emperor cannot discover you. Leave no witnesses. Kill everyone aboard, Imperials and KOTOR's men alike.
As you wish, my master.
So interesting thing here, even though Vader calls Starkiller his apprentice, you might notice the lack of the iconic Darth prefix. And there is an in-universe explanation that sort of works for why it's not there, and then of course you have the real reason. Starting with the in-universe one, some people would say it has to do with the Sith Rule of Two. Since Vader is still the apprentice of old Papa Palps, he would be unable to give out the title of Darth. However, the problem with that is that Palpatine gave the title of Darth to Darth Maul despite him still being the apprentice to Darth Plagueis in Episode 1. Now, I guess you could say that this is because he was just using Maul with no true intentions on ever keeping him as a true apprentice. But that's sort of the same situation we have here, which to me would then imply that Vader views Starkiller with less respect than Palpatine viewed Maul. Now, the real reason why Starkiller doesn't have Darth as a title is because the only true giver of that title is George Lucas. And when the development team asked for him to allow them to use the title of Darth, he kind of brushed them off by saying they could choose between two, Darth Insanus or Darth Icky. So yeah, they obviously just stuck with Starkiller. By the way, in early scripts for A New Hope, Luke was originally named Anakin Starkiller, but that was changed due to Lucas wanting a more hopeful sounding name. Well, that and because he was worried the phrase Star Killer would mostly draw links to the Manson murders since one of the victims was an up-and-coming star. With the movie planning to be released less than a decade after the murders, Lucas wanted to play it safe so people wouldn't draw any strange conclusions. And though now news stories sort of disappear as quickly as they came, back then they really stuck around for quite a while, so it was definitely a somewhat valid concern to have. So the name was dropped from the universe, until Knights of the Old Republic came out, where we met the legendary Bendex Starkiller, and later on it was used here. Damn, that was a long tangent over a name. Alright, let's get back to the main story.
Ah, Master! Another excellent duel!
Proxy, you did catch me by surprise. I haven't fought that training program in years. I thought you'd erased it.
I'd hoped that using an older training module would catch you off guard and allow me to finally kill you. I'm sorry I failed you again.
Well, I'm sure you'll keep trying.
So this is Proxy, a training droid whose main programming involves trying to kill Starkiller to make him stronger. As you can tell, he can use holograms to turn into anyone and copy their fighting style, making him a great teacher. Unfortunately, this also puts him into the category of droids that are so overpowered they make very little sense. I mean, a droid that can effectively wield a lightsaber and disguise himself as anyone should be able to end any resistance group single-handedly. Proxy is also voiced by the one and only David Collins, who even now is still voicing Star Wars characters in the recent shows and games. And by the way, since I recently did that video on Republic Commando, he also voiced the Trandoshans in that game as well. Now personally, I find Proxy to be kind of an character, but overall I did find his interactions with Starkiller somewhat enjoyable. He also acts as our de facto computer looking up information on people and places, and acts as a proxy for Vader anytime he feels like giving us a call.
I'd hoped that using an older training module would catch you off guard and allow me to finally kill you. I'm sorry I failed you again.
Well, I'm sure you'll keep trying. Yeah, but do me a favor. Don't ambush me anytime.
Proxy. Yes, why are we whispering?
Shh, who's that?
Yes. Your new pilot has finally arrived, Master. Accessing Imperial records.
Captain Juno Eclipse, born on Corilag, where she became the youngest student ever accepted into the Imperial Academy. Decorated combat pilot with over 100 combat missions, and commanding officer during the bombing of Kalos. Hand-picked by Lord Vader to lead his Black 5 squadron, but later reassigned to a top-secret mission. Is there a psychological profile in there too?
Actually, yes. But it's restricted. Oh, Master, I can tell you she's going to be impossible to reprogram.
Do you know why you're here?
Yes. My orders are clear. I'm to keep your ship running and fly you wherever your missions require.
Did Vader tell you that he killed our last pilot?
No. But I can only assume that he gave Lord Vader good reason to do so. I will not.
Well, let's hope so. I'm sick of training new pilots. What have you done to my ship?
I've taken the liberty of upgrading the Rogue Shadow sensor array. Now you'll be able to spy on any suspect ships within the entire system. You are one of Vader's spies.
You don't need to know anything about my missions except where I'm going. Now I need to jump to Nar Shaddaa. Can you handle that?
Of course.
So rounding out our initial team, we have the lovely Juno Eclipse, our extremely obvious romance. I know a few people who find her character useless and nothing more than a basic romantic plot device. However, I really don't think she's that bad. Lucas told them that there needs to be some kind of love interest for the main character to allow for some drama, and I kind of agree with him on that. It might be simple, but the moments with her and Starkiller are nice, and it would make sense for someone who's been sort of sheltered from normal social contact to focus on training to be so easily spun around by an attractive woman. By the way, Juno is voiced by Nathalie Cox, someone who really hasn't done that much of note, but does give a good performance here. Okay, for some reason they decided to make this your tutorial, but only for how to use Force Grip. Gotta be honest, it seems kind of pointless to include here, but I'm sure it probably helps someone out there understand how to move things around with control sticks. Just feels kind of abrupt is all.
Proxy, give me the target.
According to Imperial records, Master Ram KOTOR was a respected general in the Clone Wars.
You're hunting Jedi.
I bring Darth Vader's enemies to justice. Now so do you.
Master KOTOR was a military genius, but felt that clone soldiers were unfit for battle. Instead, he relied on his own militia.
So there were no clones in his squad when Order 66 was issued?
And after Order 66, he vanished. Official Imperial records actually claim he's dead.
Why come out of hiding and attack the Empire now?
He wants to be found.
Then we're walking into a trap. How many pilots have you lost before me?
7.
Excellent. Coordinates for Nar Shaddaa are locked. Prepare for light speed.
Lock down the command center and get that hologram projector up and running.
Yes, sir.
Tell all squads to fan out and funnel any opposition towards us. Explosive charges on levels 2, 5, and 12, just like we planned.
General KOTOR.
He's here.
I've finally drawn you out of hiding. Lower the containment field on Hangar 12 and tell the men to get into position.
Yes, General.
Okay, multiple things here. First off, Coda is voiced by Cully Fredrickson, who unfortunately hasn't really been in all that much either. Personally, I love the way he portrays the character and really wish he got more work. But sadly, outside the Force Unleashed games, the only other Star Wars game that had him as an actor was Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron, where he still played Coda. Considering Elite Squadron was pretty much salvaged from the scrapped Battlefront 3, I can't help but wonder if we would have got more of his character had the game not been cancelled. Now, the second thing here is that his story for how he survived Order 66 I think is pretty solid. It would make complete sense that some Jedi would have trepidations over using a clone army that just appeared out of nowhere. I will say though, war has still clearly changed a man, considering that stormtrooper he killed clearly had his hands up surrendering. But fuck it, he didn't drop that blaster fast enough I guess, so might as well execute him.
Eclipse to Starkiller. I'll be moving the Rogue Shadow out of firing range while you attend to your mission. The onboard scanners should be able to track your movements, and I will provide whatever intelligence support I can.
Alright, we can finally play as Starkiller, and oh god, he's using reverse grip. So these days, reverse grip is pretty much widely recognized as an absolute joke of a stance. And there are plenty of videos online of people who are far more knowledgeable than me out there explaining why. However, as many of these other channels will admit, the reverse grip is a cool looking stance and makes the character instantly feel unique and easily recognizable given just how unorthodox the stance is. Now, back to the level itself. We are currently on an Imperial shipyard over Nar Shaddaa. I will say, I don't exactly know why the Empire would have a shipyard in Hutt-controlled space, especially over the moon that is pretty much known for lawlessness, but oh well. The level starts off simple enough with us having to just unlock a few doors. That is still really satisfying. In fact, it really does feel good that pretty much every time a door doesn't open, it's because you need to rip it open with the Force instead of going key hunting. Right off the bat here, we quickly come across the power-ups in the game. These floating red Sith holocrons can grant us an assortment of temporary bonuses, such as in this case, unlimited Force powers. Other abilities can be things like invincibility or even a drain life effect that's a lot of fun to use. On top of these Sith holocrons, we can also find Jedi holocrons that can give us items such as lightsaber crystals that can allow us to change the color or even damage effects for our blade. We can also find holocrons that even have extra Force spheres to upgrade Starkiller with. The upgrade system here is pretty straightforward, where every time we level up, we get these Force spheres for each upgrade column. There are 3 in total, with the first one being Force powers, that, as you would expect, lets us upgrade the strength of our powers. Unfortunately, we can't buy new powers here, and we'll have to instead let most of them unlock naturally as we go through the story. The second column has Force talents, which relates more to our basic stats, like how much damage we can take, or how fast our Force meter can recharge, that sort of stuff. And last but not least is our Force combo column, that of course lets us acquire new lightsaber combos that can combine our strikes with different Force powers, or even use the Force in different ways, like using a lightning blast instead of the typical style of lightning. Unfortunately, despite my years of playing Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo as a child, I am terrible at remembering combos, so I only stuck to a few that I could easily pull off. However, if you're someone who's really good at remembering this sort of stuff, there does seem to be a good variety to mess around with. Now again, you get points to spend whenever you level up. And though I completely overlooked it this whole playthrough, you can actually see the level progress between your health and the Force meter. I don't know how I didn't notice it throughout nearly my entire playthrough, but it wasn't until about the very end that I realized it was there. Outside of leveling up, there are a couple other ways for us to get more Force spheres to spend. You see, each level we play through will have a bonus objective to complete. For this first level is to destroy 5 TIE fighters, and once that's done, we gain another Force sphere to use. We can also get Force spheres by completing levels with a high enough amount of Force points, or just XP to keep it simple. Again, the upgrade system here isn't anything crazy, but it does give a good feeling of progression and reward to the game. So pretty early on in the level, we are introduced to the first of many impressive set pieces for the game. Don't get me wrong, games like the Jedi Knight series had some really impressive set pieces as well. But this right here really starts to show off the massive jump from the 6th generation of consoles over to the 7th. It's a wide open area with large platforms and TIE fighters flying on by. And the TIE fighters here aren't just for show, and can actually be interacted with as well. I mean, if you want, you can even grab helpless rebels and hold them in front of the oncoming TIEs to kill them. Though I don't remember that much of my first time playing through the game, I do remember being pretty amazed at the sheer scale of everything while running through this section in particular, and it's probably for that reason why the developers ended the demo for the game in this section with an AT-ST boss fight, though the AT-ST does not appear in this section in the main game. and is instead held off on for a good amount of time later. Ah, would you look at that? It's Boss from Republic Commando! You know, that's a very fitting Easter egg since my last Star Wars retrospective was on Republic Commando.
An elegant weapon for a more civilized time, huh? Well, guess what? Times have changed.
Still upset that we never got that Imperial Commando sequel. But strange enough, among the few DLCs for this game, one of them included different skins for Starkiller. There is a wide assortment of characters from the movies and the games, and one of them is actually an Imperial Commando. Definitely looks pretty awesome. The base game still has skins to be able to choose from, but they're mainly just the outfits that Starkiller acquires throughout his journey. However, with the DLCs, you get access to so much more. You can run around as Kit Fisto, Count Dooku, C-3PO, I mean there is just so much to choose from. I will say, however, they really screwed up with the Dark Scion skin from Knights of the Old Republic 2. I mean, this looks nothing like him at all. He now looks way more alien and brutish instead of a terrifying madman who sleeps with vibroblades and relies on his hatred and dark side to hold together his broken body. I just don't know what they were thinking with this model. It's not terrible, it's not Scion. Now as we fight our way through some more arenas, we begin to get introduced to a few new enemies, and shortly after get a pretty cool set piece of being trapped by a disintegration field. Though, to be honest, this is probably one of the best times to use the phrase, "I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me." So this fun guy is an ATCT, or All-Terrain Construction Vehicle. It pretty much just uses a small tractor beam to pick up and throw crap at us. It's a pretty good first little mini-boss fight, and having a weaker version of the ATST present in the game allows them to keep the actual ATST for later, making it stronger and more imposing. One unique feature here is how the QuickTime events for the ending of the duels also happens for these mini-bosses as well. When they're at low health, you'll be given a button prompt, and if you hit all of them, you'll end up killing the enemy, normally in a very over-the-top way. For this ATCT here, we end up crumpling it up into a ball with the Force, which feels very poetic with it being a construction walker and all. Also, these TIE Fighter assembly rooms are awesome. Them requiring us to use the Force to lift up these TIE wings and slide them into place to get higher up is really good level design that makes it feel like we're actually in control. And having us naturally realize that we can use the same trick to build a bridge to acquire some of the bonus items feels really satisfying. This whole first level is really nothing but impressive set piece after set piece that individually would be the highlight of any other game out there. But overall, this first level really does a great job at setting the standard for the rest of the game's level design and combat arenas. And that's not all, because now we can finally have our first real duel of the game.
Boy? Months of attacking Imperial targets and Vader sends a boy to fight me?
I love how disappointed he sounds by it being us here instead of Vader when, let's be honest, he would stand no chance against him. Now unfortunately, because it has been so long since I played this game, KOTOR was kinda giving me the business here at first. But fortunately, if we progress the fight enough, it will save a checkpoint that we're able to respawn at. So when KOTOR says screw it and rips the observation deck off the station with the Force and throws it down into the moon with us still on it, we now have a new checkpoint to respawn at with full health. By the way, this whole falling section is pretty neat and even has an interesting effect where as we pass through the atmosphere, the bottom will heat up, harming us if we walk on it. Just a really cool idea. But eventually we do manage to overpower KOTOR, starting the QuickTime finisher. And this is where I remembered a funny feature of this game. So in games like Resident Evil, when you miss a QuickTime event, it does actually harm you. But here, all that really happens is you just kinda get stuck in this loop until you finally succeed. It's such a strange thing to do because it takes away any sense of adrenaline when you know there's no consequence for failing. I mean, just imagine if they went a different route here, where failing a QuickTime event would cause damage, and if you ran out of health, it could result in a cool cinematic death for Starkiller, similar to what he normally does to his enemies. It just really would have helped a lot in keeping that tension high throughout the entirety of the fight.
Vader thinks he's turned you, but I can sense your future. And Vader won't always be your master. I sense only me.
Oh yeah, he's totally dead.
Master KOTOR is dead.
Yes.
His lightsaber. My spies have located another Jedi. Kazdan Paratus is far more powerful than you. I do not expect you to survive, but if you destroy him, you'll be one step closer to your destiny.
The Emperor?
Yes. Only together can we defeat him.
I will not fail you, my master.
Amazing. It looks just like the Jedi Temple on Coruscant.
Proxy, are you picking up any communications?
Too many to decipher. I can hear thousands of droids all calling out to each other. This is where all droids go to die.
Man, that's dark as hell. But as awful as this planet is for droids, it's pretty much just as bad for organics. Raxus Prime is pretty much just the dumping grounds of the galaxy, and the game actually does a really good job at portraying that by having old equipment and ships from the Clone Wars lying all around the rubble. I don't even know how many classic Star Wars ships you can find here, because it is a lot. We got drop ships, Lucrehulks, the Tantive 4, Geonosian fighters, ATTEs, a Jedi starfighter, an SPHA, or those cool beam walkers from the Clone Wars. I mean, I even found an X-Wing sunken underneath the sludge that you can lift out with the Force. I mean, thanks to this being a garbage planet, all this fan service fits in with the atmosphere so well, and there are plenty of other things in here that I still probably missed. Oh, and by the way, I'm fairly certain this is supposed to be Kyle Katarn's Ravenclaw from the Jedi Knight games. I might be wrong on that, but man, there are some similarities, so please, let me know what you think. It's unfortunate that the planet was only used in one other game, that being the classic Clone Wars game back in 2002. Because a giant garbage planet like this is actually pretty interesting, and having a mad Jedi in hiding using the garbage to build a near one-to-one replica of the Jedi Temple is a pretty cool idea. One of the best parts about this level is that this is where we actually get the ability to use Force Lightning, which pretty much becomes the workhorse for the game. It's kinda like how it is in Jedi Academy, where once it's fully upgraded all the way, it becomes your go-to for regular and large enemies alike. Here, we're introduced to Lightning by having to use it to reactivate these escape pods so that they shoot at the hyperdrive engine to blow open a pathway for us. Something I never realized before this playthrough is that this whole opening section is actually just on the rear of a Venator Star Destroyer. In front of us is the engine, and if we look down, we can actually see the bridge. Now, while the last level had us facing down militia soldiers and stormtroopers, this level mainly has us facing Rodians with telekinesis that can throw things at us, and Rodians who apparently got a hold of Ronnie Coleman's secret stash and are now just swole as fuck.
Yeah, buddy! Wait! Yeah!
Alongside the Rodians, they also have a host of Jawas working for them, and even they're over the top and violent here as well. Fortunately, one blast of lightning does the job no problem. To be honest, I have no idea why we're actually fighting in the first place. I mean, it's not like we actually want any of this garbage anyway. I'm just saying, if I saw a dark Jedi running around, I'm either A, minding my own damn business, or B, saying, "Oh yes, right this way, sir. Please, watch your step around that puddle of molten toxic sludge. Just let me know if you need anything at all." So again, Raxus Prime as a location is a pretty good choice for the game, mostly because all the metal and garbage is so fun to interact with thanks to the physics engine that the game has. While Kashyyyk had wood splintering apart as we blasted it away with Force Push, here we can bend the metal as we use the Force to mold it into walkways or to block molten sludge from falling on us. And speaking of using the Force in interesting ways, we also have this. So these guys are total trash. And I mean that quite literally. They're actually just broken droid parts held together with the force of the Jedi hiding out here. They aren't too terrible to deal with, but due to them being able to teleport around, they can sometimes get a clean shot on your back. And eventually they're even assisted by a slightly bigger version. So this is the Colossus. And fortunately, this first one is actually pretty easy thanks to a power conduit above him that if you use Force Lightning on will emit a blast that will temporarily disable him. And like other mini-bosses, after his health is low enough, you can move on in for that cinematic kill. This one has a couple versions, one where you slice his arms off before just throwing your lightsaber through him, and the way cooler version where you rip off his club arm and throw it back through him like that scene from The Incredibles.
Kasdan Paratus at last.
Don't worry, Masters. I'll defend you from this Sith trash.
Ah, Kasdan Paratus, the Mad Jedi. And oh boy is he just that. I mean, come on, we're fighting in a replica of the Jedi Council that has effigies made of trash of each of the members. I mean, just look at little garbage Yoda over there. To be honest, Kasdan's story is actually really sad. You see, while he was a young boy, he was in the Jedi Academy, but while all the other kids focused on the Force, he mainly focused on messing with machines and droids. This strange obsession and social awkwardness worried much of his instructors and confused his peers, and no one actually ever really thought he would pass the trials to become a real Jedi. However, he surprised them, all thanks to him using these Force-powered droids to assist him in ways not thought of before. After becoming a Jedi though, he kinda became a shut-in, rarely leaving for any missions and instead creating training droids for the temple and constructing his lightsaber pike. By the time the Clone Wars hit, he couldn't resist the opportunity to research these new droids that the CIS were fielding, so joined as a Jedi General. And to make sure he remained useful on the front lines, he also created his iconic robot arms to help him get around. After a while of honorable service, he returned to the temple and started to teach at the academy, finding happiness and peace in teaching the youth of the Order. Unfortunately, it wasn't long after when Order 66 happened, and as the temple was under attack, he had a mental breakdown, panicked, and fled, leaving behind his fellow Jedi and even his young students to die. He managed to make it all the way to Raxus Prime, where the shame and guilt continued to fester, turning him into the Mad Jedi that we find him as here today, screaming about how he'll protect his fake council from the Sith, almost like he's still just trying to live out what he wishes he had done the night the temple fell. And given how far into madness he seems to be, in his mind, he still might be there. Backstory-wise, Kasdan has one of my all-time favorites, and though I wish they delved into his character a little more instead of all of that material being found outside the game, for pacing reasons, they made the right choice condensing him down to the delusional Mad Jedi that will do anything to stop you from defiling his temple. Oh, and Kasdan is voiced by Larry Drake, who I mostly know as Sir Warwick Harrow from the Shindig episode of Firefly. Now I'll be honest, this fight was one of the harder ones in the game for me. It probably had to do with the fact I was still trying to figure out most of the combos, but it really felt like there was almost nothing I could do to break his guard at times. Plus, after a while, he jumped out the window and onto a pole and just started throwing garbage at us. The idea is simple, we're supposed to just grab it with the Force and throw it right back at him, but I kept auto-locking onto the wrong thing and just got hammered by him a few times. Luckily, he will summon in a Colossus to help him out, and since his attacks are pretty easy to dodge and it's weak to lightning, so long as we avoid getting hit, killing the Colossus will actually get us some additional health, just like all fallen enemies give. This fight is also the first time we can get into a Force lock, where we'll have to do a mini-game to actually beat our opponent. There is a lightsaber version of this as well, where you just have to mash the attack button until you win. But after we whittle down his health enough, the quick time event happens. And I have to say, I really do enjoy something about the choreography here. I think it's that aggressiveness that Starkiller always seems to show that just sells these scenes so well. Sells these scenes so well. Sells these scenes so well. Man, that is a tongue twister.
I'm sorry, Masters. I've failed you again.
Juno, I'm done here.
You know, I feel like this is the first real moment where Starkiller seems conflicted. He seems almost sad at what he has done and just wants to get out of there. Also, that is one hell of a way to let your Force energy out. I mean, it's never actually said what that is as far as I know, but he's not the only one who does that when he dies. Maybe it's them becoming one with the Force, and since this game just kinda cranks everything up to 11, they chose this method of symbolizing it rather than just fading away. Who knows. Either way, let's head back over to see what Vader has for us next.
My master, Kazdan Paratus, is dead.
Then there is but one more test.
I'm ready now.
No. You've defeated an old man and an outcast. You must face a true Jedi Master.
Who?
Master Shaak Ti, one of the last of the Jedi Council. You'll need the full power of the dark side to defeat her.
Yes, my master.
Assassins. Darth Vader has found us.
Perhaps. Maris, gather your belongings and go into hiding, just as we've practiced. Do not return until I summon you.
But Master, this is what I've been waiting for. Let me fight!
No. I will lead this assassin to the ancient abyss alone. You are not ready to face a Sith. You would surely be killed. Maris, we are among the last of the Jedi. While we live, the Order survives. I cannot allow you to be captured or killed by the Empire. Now please, go to the graveyard and wait for my summons. No, she hasn't been corrupted. Not yet. She's just afraid. May the Force be with you, Maris Brood.
Just afraid? But fear is the path to the dark side. And just look at her. She's already one Green Day album away from shopping at Hot Topic.
Don't wanna be a Jedi idiot. Don't want my thoughts ruled by the holonet. Can you hear Yoda's hysteria? Accept the grip of dark side mania.
I'm tracking your location. Just ahead, you should find a hollow fungus tower. You'll need to make your way through it.
Oh dear God, I'm spasming out here. So this is Felucia, and I kinda like this version more than others out there. It really feels like a bizarro alien world that humans have no place being in. The natives here are also pretty cool, but in a freaky, strange way. For the most part, they are a savage, tribal society that still use bones as weapons. However, they are among species that have a natural affinity to the Force, making them quite strong. They come in 3 varieties, the first being the warrior caste, who can't really do that much on their own, but can do some damage when swarming you. Towards the beginning, we face a ton of them as we climb up this hollow fungus tower, and the setting here is again pretty great. It has plenty of extras requiring platforming to get, and plenty of ledges that we can toss the Felucians off of. This is also the point where I found out that we have a grab move that looks pretty badass. Unfortunately, it's the same thing no matter what enemy we use it on, so it does get kinda stale pretty quickly. While climbing around this giant tower, we wound up finding an unstable red lightsaber crystal. I actually forgot that these already existed before Disney, and it felt like something that Starkiller would probably be using, so we're rocking it for now.
These aliens might be well trained, but if you could identify and eliminate the leader of each group, you might be able to demoralize the rest.
So these red dudes are the shamans, and so long as they're alive, we really can't do that much damage against the warriors. We can do some, but they have some massive defense buffs, meaning whenever you see them, make sure you target them first. Unfortunately, they can teleport around, making it a game of cat and mouse while the basic dudes just swarm us. Fortunately, here's where we also get a new force power, Force Repulse, allowing us to violently push away most enemies. It's actually an incredibly useful move throughout the entirety of the game, and one that I probably really underutilized when I first played through it. Oh god, another flower that can shoot at us. I swear, I had enough of these deadly plants from Mysteries of the Sith. Oh look, it's the Chieftain. You know, I like the design of it, but when you come across like 10 of these guys, is Chieftain really the proper name for them? Should be something more like Elder instead, since Chieftain normally implies a sole leadership position. Either way, they look cool and are pretty fun. And speaking of fun...
Master, scanners indicate creatures. Very large creatures. Near your position.
Yeah, Master.
Alright, finally a good old classic Rancor fight. Luckily, these Rancors are a little bit easier than the ones we've dealt with in the past on this channel. Oh my god, that is sick! In fact, they are so easy that the bonus objective for this mission is killing 4 of them. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, the bonus objective for Raxus Prime was killing 10 of the garbage skiffs. Very, very easy. Anyway, the Rancors are all over the place as we move on. However, they're pretty easy to deal with, especially in this whole section here where lightning can cause the plant life to react, tripping the Rancor and flipping them over like a tortoise. Okay, come on, most things look fine when you knock them over, but this one is just funny. Also, for some reason, the Chieftain riding him here kinda glitched out and started slithering at us like a snake.
Vader's assassin. Welcome to the ancient abyss. A place of sacrifice since time immemorial. Are you prepared to meet your fate?
So this of course is Shakti, and oh my god, we're grabbing her by her leku. I don't know why, but that just really seemed wrong. By the way, you might have already noticed, but Shakti is voiced by the lovely Susan Eisenberg, who is pretty much the Wonder Woman for anything animated, and was also Hawk in the game Brute Force, if anyone remembers that classic. Shameless plug for my video on it. Funny thing about Shakti is that she has died quite a few times. In episode 3, they recorded 2 versions of her death, one with her being killed off by Grievous, and the other during Order 66 by Anakin, and they both went unused. However, the Order 66 version does seem to be the current canon death, considering that in the Clone Wars show, Yoda has a vision of her dying by a blue lightsaber in a similar fashion, and in LEGO Star Wars they have her once again being killed off by Anakin. So yeah, they've really enjoyed killing her character off a lot, but this one right here is definitely one of the cooler ways they've gone about it. Now, I don't know why, but for some reason this fight just flew on by and seemed like one of the easier ones in the game. I mean, it was so easy, I was just kinda having fun grabbing her and throwing her into the Sarlacc pit over and over. But after whooping her tail for a while, she shows us that her and this Sarlacc pit are on pretty good terms, and begins to use it against us. It is a really awesome moment in the fight, though to be honest, it is pretty easy to dodge. Well, so long as your controller doesn't disconnect. Man, using lightning on an entire Sarlacc pit is pretty insane. Oh, and funny thing here, if at the beginning of the fight you toss her off the edge just right, she won't be able to get back up and it'll end up skipping the entire fight altogether.
You are Vader's slave, but your power is wasted with him. You could be so much more.
You will never convince me to betray my master.
Poor boy. The Sith always betray one another. But I'm sure you'll learn that soon enough.
Okay, what is with the force explosions in this game, I swear?
My mission is complete, Master.
Then you are ready to stand with me against the Emperor. Return to my ship at once. We will at last control the galaxy.
It seems that you are about to achieve your primary programming, Master.
Yes. Finally.
The Emperor's fleet has arrived.
You have lured the Emperor to us. When do we strike?
I did not summon him. His spies followed you here. What is thy bidding, my master?
You have forgotten your place, Lord Vader. By taking this boy as your apprentice, you have betrayed me. Now you will kill him, or I will destroy you both.
Master, we can defeat him together!
Do it now, Lord Vader. Strike him down and prove your loyalty to me.
Yes, kill him!
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Even now, this scene still feels shocking. Even though I knew what was coming, I still about jumped when Vader suddenly stabs you in the back. And what really sells this scene more than anything else is Sam Witwer's performance. I mean, again, he does a fantastic job throughout this game. Towards the beginning, he's a bit more monotone about things, which fits his character throughout that portion. But going forward, he seems to evolve as a character, which allows Sam to really show off his range. And something about how he portrays agony just feels so right for the character, to the point where it's almost jarring, in a good way mind you, witnessing him being tortured like this. And while we're on the topic of Sam Witwer's performance, we also have to talk about the voice of Palpatine, because believe it or not, he actually voices both Starkiller and the Emperor. Now I know there's a few people out there who don't really entirely care for his voice acting as the Emperor here. And to a point, I'll agree it's not his best work. However, I think it's still fine, and it's still far better than many other versions I've seen done. The funny thing is how he actually got the role of the Emperor in the first place, and I'll let him tell the story.
But at some point I'm like, hey, guys, so is Ian McDermott doing the Emperor for Force Unleashed? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, who are you getting? And they're like, we're not sure yet. And I'm like, well, you should get me. And they were like, what? And I was almost saying to myself, what am I doing? Because like I can't do that. Right. But I was like, but maybe, what if I could though? So it was basically me just completely, I don't know, making up the idea that maybe I could do this because I've done it. I was like with my friends, I would do the voice a little bit, and then once I asked them if I could do it, then I started working on it a little bit, and then one day during a read through, they're like, "Oh, go ahead, Sam, do it," and I'm like, "Oh no!" And so I did it, and they were like, "Oh, okay, well then you'll do the Emperor," and I've been doing him for video games and some animation and stuff ever since.
Again, when it comes to Star Wars, I don't have enough good things to say about Sam Witwer. I mean, to have the balls to make that suggestion and then the skills to actually pull it off is something else. Now, I should probably address one of the points I've seen a lot of people criticize here. It gets talked about more now than it did back then, and that is him floating in space being rescued by a droid. Even before Leia went all Mary Poppins in Episode 8, there were quite a few people who thought this idea was pretty silly for Starkiller, and I'll admit, I was definitely one of them. However, no one I knew really cared that much about it. at least not compared to how much people felt about Leia's version of it. And because of the similarities between them, I've seen a lot of people online point to this as a way to defend that scene in Episode 8, saying no one really cared when it happened to Starkiller, so why did so many people hate it here? Seems kinda like a double standard. Now, while I don't mean to start on an anti-Disney rant, I do think when looking back at something like this, it's important for us to understand why it is this scene seemed to work while Leia's faltered, despite them having so many similarities. I still think the idea of Starkiller floating in space is a little silly. However, why it succeeds has less to do with that aspect of it, and instead what happens after. Even Starkiller is not strong enough to pull himself to safety from the vacuum of space, and because of that has to instead be rescued by others, earning our sympathy because we haven't seen him so overpowered before. At the end of the day, it's easier for us as the viewer to suspend our disbelief when our heroes are suffering rather than when they just shrug something off that should have ended them. When our hero suffers, we feel for them and are distracted from the silliness surrounding it. But if they then overcome it in their own ridiculous way, it can make our initial emotions at the thought of their suffering to feel undermined and toyed with, leading to resentment at the writing and causing us to pick up on all the negatives that we might have otherwise have excused. Episode 8 has Leia being blasted off into space in this big emotional moment, just to have her say, "lol, not this time," and just pull herself back in, all to fall into a peaceful coma that she'll elegantly awake from later on. Meanwhile, Starkiller is stabbed in the back, thrown around, and tossed out in this big emotional moment of defeat and betrayal, and all those emotions continue all the way through till he awakens in a far more thematically consistent way.
Lord Vader, he's regaining consciousness.
Keep him restrained.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's how I'd imagine I'd wake up.
You killed me!
No. The Emperor wanted you dead. I salvaged your body and brought you here to be rebuilt.
Why?
The Emperor needed to believe you were dead. Now you can have your revenge and fulfill your destiny.
What is thy bidding, my master?
The Emperor's spies watch my every move. We must provide them with a distraction.
What sort of distraction? An assassination?
No single act will gain the Emperor's notice. You must assemble an army to oppose him.
An army?
Yes, an alliance of rebels and dissidents. When these rebels have distracted the Emperor and his spies, we will strike.
Where should I start?
Your destiny is now your own. Sever all ties to your past. No one must know that you still serve me. Now go, and remember that the dark side is always with you.
Proxy?
Ah, Master. I'm pleased to see that you're not dead. I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to kill you myself.
Well, I'm sure you get the chance once we get out of here.
Yes, but before I kill you, I am to do everything I can to help you vanish. Should I ready the rogue shadow for launch?
Yeah, you go ahead. I'll meet you there.
So obviously this scene is the first real turning point for Starkiller, where we can kind of tell from his tone with Vader that he's lost most of his trust in him. But due to being raised by Vader, he still reluctantly goes along with this strange plan to build up the rebellion to distract the Emperor with. And oh boy, will we have some things to say about that later on, but for now, we'll run with it. This level is also where Starkiller first starts thinking for himself and actually begins to go against some of his orders for a change.
Master, I've accessed the ship's main computer.
Where's Juno?
Ah, yes, the pilot. She's still aboard, I believe. In a holding cell. Captain Eclipse has been accused of treason, and Lord Vader gave explicit orders to sever all ties to your past. You aren't planning to rescue her, are you?
I don't know yet, Proxy. Just get the ship ready to launch.
As you wish, Master.
I know some people think the whole power of love angle is a little corny, but I still don't mind, and I don't think that's all that's at play here. Starkiller literally just felt the massive sting of what he thought was betrayal and hopelessness. And experiencing that would of course cause him to have sympathy for Juno, who's being imprisoned and sentenced to be executed for simply doing what he asked her to do. To abandon Juno would be to put those same feelings that hurt him onto her instead. So of course there would be a pull to go and rescue her, with his attraction to her simply adding fuel to that fire.
Alert! Ship navigation systems have malfunctioned. Repeat, ship navigation systems have malfunctioned.
Proxy, what did you just do?
I've set the Empirical on a collision with a nearby star.
Do what?
It seemed like the quickest way to wipe out all witnesses. Lord Vader did clearly specify that no one must know of your existence.
I knew you were still trying to kill me.
No. Not yet, anyway. You should have plenty of time to reach the ship before it hits that star.
So Proxy plans on throwing the station into a star so that there'll be no witnesses. And keeping with that, our bonus objective here is to destroy all these escape pods to trap everyone aboard. Now this level is rather short, but it does introduce us to some of the harder enemies in the game. First one we got here is the Evo Troopers, who have a shield around them protecting them from lightning and allows them to shoot it back at you if you try using it against them, which can make them a little bit of a pain in the ass, but not too troublesome. Next are the Stormtrooper Commanders and the Shadow Troopers. I put them together because the Commanders will actually spawn the Shadow Troopers in indefinitely if you don't take care of them first. I did not know this playing through the game, so that made things a little harder on myself than it needed to be. The Shadow Troopers can disappear and reappear across the room, and their blasters can stun lock you if enough shots land, so you have to be a little careful not to get surrounded. We also got these little torture droids that are more for show, I think, because I don't think a single one of them ever touched us. Or if they did next to no damage.
Security breach in Sector 9. Subject 1138 has escaped. Send blasters to kill.
So if you heard that, they refer to us as Subject 1138. That number, of course, being used as the detention level in A New Hope. The number is found all throughout almost every Star Wars movie and most of the games. And it was originally put in as an homage to George Lucas's first theatrical release, Electric Labyrinth THX 1138 4EB. Man, that's a mouthful.
Priority change. Initiating operation sequence. Eliminate target experiment subject number 1138.
Oh dear God, someone please call Cal Katarn, because we have Dark Troopers. Well, sort of. Here they're actually called Purge Troopers, but they're still pretty much the exact same thing. For those of you who are unaware, the Dark Troopers were a secret project that Cal Katarn stops in the original Dark Forces game. Now that game took place between episode 4 and 5, so having the Dark Troopers here might not make that much sense lore-wise. However, as I mentioned before, the greater Star Wars lore and legends was a bit more loose. And since the majority of people playing Force Unleashed, including myself, would have been too young to play Dark Forces 1, no one really minded adding them in here since they make for a great enemy to face. And by the way, they're still very similar to what they were in Dark Forces, with them having tough armor and even a missile launcher. Plus, they're still actually just droids, which is fortunate because that means they're also weak against lightning. They also tend to be weak against boxes. I mean, if you're in a bind, just throw something at them and they'll slip and fall like they're standing on ice. So after fighting our way through a few of them, we make our way over to Juno, and my God is this scene hot. And by hot, I mean literally, since they're just about to fall into a star.
Vader said you're dead. But you came back. We've been branded a traitor to the Empire.
It doesn't matter. I don't care about any of that. I'm leaving the Empire behind.
No sign of any pursuit. We're already light years away from any Imperial forces.
Then what's wrong?
We have the entire galaxy in front of us. And yet, for the first time in my life, I don't know where to go. I hope you have a plan.
We need to rally the Emperor's enemies. And I need to find someone that can teach me the things that Vader couldn't.
Sounds like we're still hunting Jedi.
And I think I know one that might still be alive.
General KOTOR?
Yes. When I fought him, he said it'd be part of my future. Well, let's hope he was right. Head to Nar Shaddaa.
Princess Leia, it's an honor to have a senatorial observer.
You can drop the charade, Captain Stern. We both know I was sent here as a hostage, to keep my father from speaking out against the Empire.
Then we both understand the situation, Senator. If your father keeps his mouth shut, I'll keep you out of harm's way. If not, you'll become the unfortunate victim of a Wookiee uprising. These slaves are mindless brutes, you know.
Show me to my quarters.
As you wish, Princess.
So now we have Leia entering the story with R2-D2 to boot. Normally something like this would come across as a bit fan servicey. However, as we'll see as the game progresses, she has more of a reserved role, which is good. She can't go through anything in this game that would overshadow what she experiences later. However, that doesn't mean she still can't be a strong character here. Having her in the game here isn't just so they can say, hey look, you remember blue milk, don't you? But instead, it fits in pretty well with how her younger self should be, in order to lead into who she will later become. Also, Leia is voiced by Catherine Tabor, who still acts in many Star Wars projects. Though, funny enough, she now plays the role of Padme in most things, including the Clone Wars show. Also, Captain Stern is played by the talented Tom Kane, who still voices many Star Wars characters today. He's pretty much the go-to guy for Yoda, with him playing him also in the Clone Wars show, as well as in EA's Battlefront 2. He was also the voice for Admiral Akbar in Episode 8, before being unceremoniously blasted into space to make room for Admiral Pinkhair.
General KOTOR.
I paid for this table, so whoever you are, get lost.
I've tracked you across the galaxy, from Nar Shaddaa to Zeost.
And who are you? A bounty hunter?
Not exactly, but I think we can help each other out, Jedi.
But I'm no Jedi now. Not since this.
I don't need your eyes, just your mind and everything you know about fighting the Empire.
Well, nobody fights the Empire and wins, boy.
Well, you better hope you're wrong about that, General.
There he is, over there. Stop right there.
Okay, so first off, this outfit right here is definitely one of the cooler looking of the main outfits for Starkiller. And second off, where did he get that blue saber? There is of course some explanation out there online, but some of it still doesn't really make much sense. From what I could find, apparently it's KOTOR's saber he took from him, and then replaced a crystal with a blue one from his father. However, at this point he doesn't know about his real dad, so for the game it doesn't really make any sense. Plus, if KOTOR is this defeated, I really wonder where he got the energy to apparently build a new lightsaber like the one he has here. And why is his suddenly blue now? I mean, he even uses it later in a cutscene and it goes back to being the good old green one for some reason. I know, small details means nothing, I'm just saying. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter, because right now we are way too busy slicing through some of these treacherous Ugnaught bastards. Yeah, that's what you get for messing with 3PO. Wait a second, haven't I already made that joke before?
This one's for 3PO.
Alongside the Ugnaughts, we also start facing probably one of the cooler enemies of the game, the Senate Guards. For years, these guys just stood there looking cool but doing nothing, so getting a chance to actually fight them was awesome back then. And upgrading their force pikes to a lightsaber pike instead was a great aesthetic choice for the game. There are a few versions of the guard that we'll encounter throughout the game, with the Senate guard here being the weakest variant. Yeah, the bonus objective here is freezing 10 enemies in carbonite by throwing these canisters at them. It's cliche, but it's a fun idea for a Bespin level. Hey now, what's that laser for? Oh god, it's the Scout Troopers. Okay, I'm just gonna say it, the Scout Troopers in this game are some of the most dangerous enemies you'll encounter. Obviously, they stay far at reach, making them already a pain, but if their laser locks onto you for just a little too long, they will land that shot no problem. Overall, it's not too hard to dodge their lasers by themselves, but the issue comes in when you're distracted by multiple other enemies, and the snipers just start taking pop shots at you in the middle of you trying to fight, knocking you down and ruining your momentum. The Scout Troopers introduction here easily increases the difficulty going forward more than the Senate Guards or even the Dark Troopers. They might be pretty annoying at times, but they are a great addition that makes you have to change your approach and resulted in some of my only non-boss fight deaths of the game. On top of adding in the Scout Trooper and Senate Guard, we also have the Jet Troopers making their return.
They fly now! They fly now!
Also, funny little unique enemy here, the Ugnaughts will show up again in their version of an AT-CT. It's pretty weak, but neat. Okay, now that's pretty badass. So this is the Shadow Guard, the true elite of the elite, even higher than the Royal Guard, in the game that is. Their difficulty is mostly due to the fact that the Shadow Guard comes from people who are force sensitive, meaning they can use certain force powers like force grip and lightning. They are so powerful in fact, they can even survive falling off Bespin.
It's a fool's errand, boy. I mean, the Emperor's army is infinite. You'll eventually be killed, or worse, and nothing will have changed.
But wouldn't you rather die on your feet than drown in some cantina?
I don't know. But I do have a contact in the Senate who could use your lightsaber. Where's your ship?
I was beginning to worry that you died in your sleep.
Oh, well, I'm starting to wish that I had.
We've reached Kashyyyk. I still think this mission's too dangerous. The planet is completely controlled by the Empire.
Your contact better be reliable.
I trust him. He smuggled me to Cloud City, and he's an old ally to the Jedi Order. But all you need to know is that there's something very valuable to him down there. You get it, and maybe he'll agree to help you fight the Empire.
Get what?
Patience, boy.
Have we been spotted?
No. The cloaking device is fully functional.
Then take us down.
I love Coda. He's a kind of character that is not normally seen in Star Wars. I mean, at this point, he has truly given up on the Jedi, or anything similar, and has resigned himself to being a drunker whose time will come when it comes. Unlike the other Order 66 survivors, where many went into a sort of noble exile, still somewhat focused around the Force. There are a few modern examples of Jedi who separated themselves from the Force entirely, but none as in the gutter as Coda seems to be. However, he still clearly has that spark of who he was before. Also, the change in Starkiller's overall demeanor by this point is pretty refreshing. Obviously, it is just starting off as a ruse to fool Coda into helping him, but it also has these moments that you can kind of tell that it is his genuine self that he's had to kind of push down his whole life since losing his father. And actually, speaking of his father...
So what am I looking for, General?
You'll know when you see it.
Kota, I think I found something.
What?
Just an old hut, but it feels familiar. I feel great darkness here. And sadness.
Turn away. Get on with your mission. There are some things you aren't ready to face.
What's inside?
How should I know? My link to the Force has been cut. But if you go inside, you'll face whatever's in there alone.
I never wanted this for you. I never wanted any of this for you.
I'm sorry, son.
Wait! Father, no!
Juno to Star Killer, are you alright? We lost contact with you for a moment.
I'm fine, Juno. I'm just a little bit turned around.
Well, I'm picking up a major Imperial facility right in front of you. Whatever you're looking for is likely to be inside.
Again, Sam's voice acting is just fantastic in this game. Unfortunately, that scene has little to no lasting impact. It's never really brought up, and Starkiller never mentions it again. Now, there was a cut level from the game where you would go to Coruscant and break into the Jedi Temple to find out more about Starkiller's father and connection to the Jedi, but that level was scrapped and then later redesigned and re-released as a DLC mission. And don't worry, we will be talking about all the DLC missions at the very end. For now, let's go back to Kashyyyk, and man has the Empire really industrialized it. The contrast here of what this place was like in the first level versus now is pretty intense, with large pipes and platforms where the trees once stood, and the edges of the lush forest being burned away by flame troopers. Normally, returning to a location can come across as kinda lazy, but since Kashyyyk was only a tutorial mission, and since they've done so much here to make it different, I think they've kind of earned the right to reuse it. Now, the bonus objective here is really simple, with us just having to make a quick loop around this comm tower to lightning both sides of it to take it out. Almost feels like an afterthought bonus objective, to be honest. Like, why not make it save a certain amount of Wookiees or something? Like, there's more stuff you could probably do here. I don't know why they chose this. Pretty early on, we make our way over to Commander Stern's private quarters, where a royal guard is stationed next to all these great hunting trophies. And by hunting trophies, I mean a massive room full of Easter eggs. We got crate dragons, we got the animals from episode 2, we got tauntauns, wampas, even swamp wampas from Mysteries of the Sith. There are banthas, Minox, what I think might be the water creatures from Dark Forces 2, and even the great Gorax from the 80s TV movie Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. By the way, if you've never seen that movie, you really need to, because I swear it's like a fucking fever dream at times. And of course, you can also find Jar Jar frozen in carbonite next to Salacious Crumb and the Dianaga, so at least he got what he deserved for giving Palpatine those emergency powers.
I should have expected the Emperor would send an assassin. It's a coward's tactic.
I do not serve the Emperor. I'm here with Master Kota.
Master Kota is dead. Killed above Nar Shaddaa. My father...
Your father? He's Kota's contact. How long has your father been feeding Kota information about Imperial targets?
How do you know?
Because Master Kota survived, and he was sent to find you. Let's go.
I cannot leave while this planet is still enslaved. If you are truly a Jedi, then you will destroy that. Once that skyhook is complete, the Empire will start shuttling Wookiee slaves into space. Entire villages will be taken off-world in a matter of days.
The Empire will just rebuild it.
Eventually, maybe. But you will give the Wookiees a chance to disappear. You can take that lift down to the forest floor. It will be crawling with Imperials.
What about you?
Is there still an Imperial transport on the landing platform?
Yes, but I think the pilot might be dead.
And what makes you think I need a pilot?
So I don't exactly know why they made Leia look so young in these scenes. I mean, the game only takes place just 2 years before episode 4, so realistically she really shouldn't be looking all that different. I will say, her inclusion, though still somewhat fanservice-y, is done well enough that I really don't mind. With that said, let's be real. The whole save the Wookiees thing is just a way for them to pad out the level, and story-wise is kind of weak. Fortunately, it is pretty fun, which makes up for that. As we cut our way through, we can open up these Wookiee cages so they can run on out to help us. Unfortunately, these are not the Republic Commando style Wookiees, so they really don't do all that much, but it's nice to include. This initial area is also filled with Senate guards and even another Shadow Guard. Fortunately, by this point in the game, they're still separating them apart, so you're not really facing multiple of them at once. Eventually, we make our way over to the Skyhook and start the process of disabling it. All we really have to do is pull these rods out so it overloads the tractor beam and causes it to blow. However, as we get to work on it, Captain Stern shows up and tells us how he's always wanted to hunt a Jedi, before hopping into his modified AT-ST to face us. This fight is really easy to cheese if you want to. Just stand back and throw stuff at him, or of course you can just spam Force Lightning, whatever works for you. I have to say, this finisher was a lot less violent than I thought it would be.
Who was she?
Princess Leia Organa. Her father is Bail Organa, my contact in the Senate.
I want to talk to him.
You can't.
I just rescued his daughter on a planet overrun by stormtroopers.
You can't talk to him because I can't find him! He's gone missing, boy.
What? When?
Bail tried to recruit me to rescue Leia. I refused, and he went in search of another Jedi, Master Shakti. I told him it was too dangerous, but the fool went anyway, alone, and vanished as soon as he landed on
Felucia.
The Force is strong in you, my boy. To be able to sense my thoughts.
You're just easy to read, old man.
Well, then you should already know our next mission. We're going to Felucia to rescue Senator Organa.
So again, good scene. Really like that whole moment of, oh shit, I might have blown my cover. Just good tension that serves to remind us that KOTOR doesn't yet realize who Starkiller is. Or is letting us believe that at least. It's a really good setup for... Wait a second. Where's that music coming from? Oh god, it's Miss Hot Topic again. And good lord, what has she done with those Felucians? I mean, my god, that is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen in Star Wars. That eyeball is about to fall out of his head, what the fuck?
Eat up, Senator.
Why are you keeping me here, Maris? Your master would be disgusted with you.
You're something to trade if Darth Vader finds me. Now shut up and eat. And if you're thinking of escaping, just remember that my new pet is very hungry.
Now, I'm not 100% sure why the Empire is here on Felucia, since they really don't seem to be after Maris, but maybe they know Bail Organa came here, or more than likely, they're just stripping the planet for resources. We also finally get to face off against proper AT-STs, which are definitely stronger than they are in a lot of other games. They also have one of the cooler cinematic kills, giving us a slightly smaller version of the game's iconic concept art. Now, unfortunately, the first part of the level still really isn't all that much, and will kind of make you start wondering what's the point of returning to this world if it's just going to be more of the same. But all that does change as we finally approach the Great Sarlacc Pit.
Oh, how could they?
Juno, are you seeing this?
Yes, I have a visual. What could possibly possess the Empire to do such a thing?
They don't need a reason, but I'd wager that they're pursuing the last of the Felucians.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Do not feel bad for the Sarlacc here, okay? I mean it. They are beyond evil creatures, and in Legends, they were even worse than you can possibly imagine. They aren't just normal animals or freaky plants, but instead are somewhat sentient and malevolent monsters. They not only would take forever to just digest you, but by using chemicals and possibly even dark side powers, they would keep you alive and conscious past the point you normally would have lived. The 1,000 years isn't just to digest your body, but it's to keep you around, torturing you not just physically, but even telepathically. In Legends, when Boba Fett escapes to Sarlacc, not only did he lose his leg, but he was in fact truly traumatized by it. And when an anthropologist took a look at his armor's recording of the incident, he found the Sarlacc pit was torturing him through some unobservable means, somehow tearing its way through his mind and seemingly feeding on his fears and anguish. And the worst part is that even after 1,000 years and you're finally digested, the torture is still not over, because your consciousness would also be absorbed into the monster to continue to torture and to feed on. The more minds it absorbed, the smarter it would get, so that it could begin to predict how its prey might fight back and try and escape its clutches. All in all, Sarlaccs are hellish, evil, probably dark side influenced monsters, and there is no reason to ever feel any kind of sympathy for them whatsoever. Unfortunately, the secondary objective here is to have sympathy for him and break the chains holding the beast down. However, I didn't do that on my main playthrough and only did it for the second playthrough so I could have the footage, so ha. Now obviously, fighting around a Sarlacc pit is already really cool in itself. However, where it really gets taken to that next level is when we actually take an elevator down into the stomach of the beast, and though this section is kind of short, it is one of the most memorable sections of the entire game just due to the novelty of it. It's pretty awesome seeing how the Empire can use technology to secure the stomach of a monster like this, and to be able to move around freely inside. Well, almost freely. Unfortunately, this section is as quick as it is memorable, with us being shot out of some air hole soon after entering. Now if you remember, back when we first came to Felucia, in the backdrop we could actually see a lot of the remnants of the Clone Wars, but never really saw much of it up close. This time, however, we can find all sorts of Clone Wars tech. But soon after fighting our way through this area and taking on some more Rancors, we finally find Bail Organa.
Senator Organa, Master Kota has sent me to rescue you.
I knew he couldn't stay out of the fight for long, but I thought he'd be angry with me for ignoring his advice.
He's angry, but I think he wants to be able to yell at you in person.
Hurry. Shakti's apprentice has gone mad.
This whole planet has gone insane.
Oh, we're not crazy. We've just embraced the power of the dark side.
Stand aside, girl. Don't make me hurt you.
You won't. He won't let you.
So Miss Hot Topic here has gone and got herself a massive Rancor. Fortunately, his attacks are pretty predictable, and all we really have to do here is just wait for him to charge, get stuck, land a combo, and repeat. The only real danger here is that Maris has the ability to vanish and then reappear next to us to land a few hits, and if she gets us stuck, then the Rancor can charge on right through us. Fortunately, if we attack her enough, she will disappear for a little bit, and she can also be harmed by her own Rancor, which is nice. After a while, we end up using Force Push to bully the poor thing. I mean, dear God, that Force Push breaks down metal doors. I can only imagine the kind of brain damage he's receiving from this.
Virgins and hypocrites, the Sith are back with dark side euphoria. We're shredding through the Jedi hysteria. Welcome to a new...
Now on to Maris. First off, she's played by Adrienne Wilkinson, who doesn't really have too many well-known roles that I'm aware of, but she did play a side character in Star Wars The Old Republic, though the main thing I know her from is as the Zone Raiders from Kane's Wrath.
Run silent. Let's get going. Raiders on the move.
Man, I love that game. I should really do a video on it one day. Now, there really isn't much to say about this fight because she is very, very easy. I mean, even with her ability to turn invisible, you can still pretty quickly take her out. I will say, though it is extremely impractical, the lightsaber tonfas that she uses are a really cool addition. But at the end of the day, her resolve crumbles as fast as the integrity of the punk bands that she listens to. And yeah, I'll let y'all argue in the comment section below over what bands I'm referring to.
Hey, you've won. The Senator's yours. There's no need to kill me now.
You are a slave to the dark side. I'd be doing the galaxy a favor.
It's not my fault. Shakti abandoned me here. This planet is evil. It corrupted me. But you can save me. Just let me get away from here. Just let me go. And I'll turn my back on the dark side.
That one. She reminds me too much of another young Jedi who turned to the dark side. You shouldn't have let her go free.
You really think she's free? She'll carry the memories of what she's done here forever.
Oh, come on, that was weak. She is in no way similar to Anakin, alright? They just wanted us to go, ooh, I know who he's talking about, ooh. Ugh. Also, what's with her almost seductive tone when speaking to Starkiller? I mean, I guess it worked, but still. Now, I know some people might be wondering what happened to her after this game, but unfortunately, she has never been brought up again, so her fate is entirely unknown. Well, at least to me, that is. So real quick, I did want to mention that Bail Organa here is played by the actual Bail Organa, Jimmy Smits. It's always really cool when we can see the actual actors come in and lend their voices to a game like this.
Open rebellion is too dangerous, Master KOTOR. I know I owe you my life, but...
You don't owe me anything. I told you on Cloud City that I can't help you. Not since I lost my sight. He's your hero, and it's his rebellion. Join us because he's asking you to.
You are the first to really fight the Empire. We're not prepared to go to war yet. We need weapons and starships and people with the courage to use them. I don't know how many others will stand with us.
But surely you know some who will.
Well, yes, there are other senators who have spoken out against the Emperor. But they will be hard to convince.
We just need to show them that the Empire is vulnerable.
Let me meditate on that. I'm sure we can find the right target. In the meantime, Senator, gather your friends. We're gonna need all the help we can get.
Master, he's here.
You have received my message?
Yes. Your mission goes well.
I have recruited others to my cause, but now I need your counsel. My allies seek a major strike against the Empire.
The Emperor rules the galaxy through fear. We must destroy a symbol of that fear. The Empire is building Star Destroyers above Raxus Prime. That shipyard is your next target.
Thank you, Lord Vader.
There is much conflict in you. Your feelings for your new allies are growing stronger. Do not forget that you still serve me.
I hate being him.
I think he does too.
Master.
Juno.
I came to find out where you wanted to go next. But it looks like you've already been told.
Juno, this isn't what it looks like.
Of course it is. You're still loyal to Vader. After he branded me a traitor and tried to kill you, you're still his
slave.
Then why did you defy Vader to rescue me?
I needed someone to fly the ship!
We both know that's not true. My being here has never been about my piloting. Sometime soon, you will decide the fate of the rebellion, not your master. And when you're faced with that moment, just remember that I too was forced to leave behind everything I've ever known. Please, don't make me leave another life behind.
Okay, so again, I know there are a lot of people out there who seem to hate Juno Eclipse and the whole love story angle here. But again, I'm going to play defense for it. At this point in the story, Starkiller needs something personal to push him over that edge and into the light. It can't be the rebellion because that's too abstract of a concept. It can't be KOTOR or Bail because everything they know about him is built on the foundation of a lie. And it can't be his father's death to Vader because that would be steeped in revenge and hatred. In the end, it has to be Juno. She knows who he actually is. She has seen him when he was evil, and though his turn to the light started as a lie, she can clearly see the conflict that's within him. Let other great Star Wars games tell the more complicated stories that properly deconstruct and dissect what Star Wars is at its core. This story is supposed to be in a similar fashion to the movies, which have always been about the timeless hero's journey. And yes, it might be a trope that the woman tames the wild man and causes him to look beyond himself and rise to greatness. However, it is a trope for a reason, and that's because it's something that many people can relate to on a smaller scale. And I'm pretty sure those of you who are happily married out there understand exactly what I mean by that. So we are back on Raxus Prime, and... well, wait a second. What happened to my audio? So yeah, there is unfortunately a problem with this level on the PC version of the game where this, and sometimes even the final level, can have this strange audio issue. Fortunately, there are fixed audio files online, and if you go and check out the Steam discussion tab, you should be able to find a thread where the files will be linked in it. But this does bring up an issue I haven't yet touched on, and that is the problems with the PC port of the game. First off, this audio issue is extremely common, and there's no reason why after all these years it hasn't been patched out yet. I don't think it's controversial for me to say, but you shouldn't have to go and track down the audio files for a game you paid for. I don't care if it's easy to do, it shouldn't be needed in the first place. On top of that, there are a lot of people out there who have issues with the game crashing. And even on my 3080, a beefy CPU, and more RAM than I could ever need, this almost 20-year-old game crashed more times than you would expect. Don't get me wrong, if you have to play on PC, it is still totally worth it, just be aware. Now back to Raxus, the first portion of the level is pretty similar to the first visit, with the only difference being higher caliber enemies. Eventually, we do make our way over to this combat arena that is actually a little tough. There are multiple Dark Troopers walking around and plenty of snipers to prevent us from really focusing down on the Dark Troopers. And even after they're all dealt with, this dropship base will open up its doors to reveal an AT-ST and 2 more Dark Troopers. Okay, come on, that's not even fair. Okay, now that's some cheese, and I love it. So here's where Raxus Prime becomes a little more than just retreading old ground. We enter an Imperial facility that is recycling the discarded ships of the past to shoot up the raw resources into space to the Imperial shipyard above, where they are building their new fleet of Star Destroyers. So as funny as it might sound, the mission here is to simply destroy an evil recycling facility. This is also where we can find the bonus objective for the level, which is to simply destroy this orbital tractor beam here. There are some interesting engagements around this area, like this one where we have snipers on the platforms on both sides of us. Fortunately, their AI is kinda wonky, so a lot of the times they can just run right off the edge. After a little while, we take an elevator up and suddenly get thrust into a fight with a shadow guard. But wait, what's this?
My onboard tactical computer suggests that this is the best time to attack. I am certain that I will finally fulfill my programming.
So this is a fight with Proxy, where he can turn into everyone we have fought so far. And is it just me, or does this sequence kind of feel a little incomplete? I mean, this should be a big moment for Starkiller, but he says nothing at the beginning of this fight. I literally went online to watch walkthroughs just to make sure that the game didn't glitch out and skip a cutscene or something. It almost feels like they had originally planned this being at a different part of the game, but just kinda threw it in here last minute. Even the fight itself doesn't feel as polished as the others. The gimmick here is fine, with him turning into all the bosses that we have fought so far. It's a really cool idea and something I'm very glad they included. However, later in the fight, he does one of the most blatantly fan-servicey things I have ever seen.
Shut down, Proxy. There's no one inside you that I haven't already defeated.
Give me some credit, Master. I have one module you've never seen. An enemy I've studied for years.
Okay, come on. This was simply put in to make everyone go, "Ooh, it's Darth Maul!" And admittedly, I was definitely one of those people. I mean, I guess it's not really that bad of an idea, and it would make sense that Vader would have gone over Maul's fighting style meticulously, considering that he killed Qui-Gon. Plus, though I can't play it, having the Duel of the Fates track just blaring in the background at this part was such a great touch. The real problem with the fight mostly comes down to two things. One, Maul is crazy powerful. I'm talking the hardest boss in the game bar none. If he catches you with just one flurry, half your health will just be melted away. And even though there are other hard bosses in the game, this was the only one that ever truly felt unfair at times. I died to Maul more than any other boss in the game by a wide margin. And that brings me to issue number 2. When other bosses have these quick cinematic breaks, they serve kinda like a checkpoint in the fight. But for some reason, that is not the case here. Instead, it will start you in the middle of the first phase for some reason, causing you to have to re-watch the cinematic every time you die. Again, it just kind of feels like this whole thing was thrown together a little haphazardly or something. And that even shows after you beat Proxy. So yeah, Starkiller just walks away without any kind of character moment at all, like he just took out another Dark Trooper or something. I mean, this is his homicidal droid buddy from the start of the game, and as far as we know, this is the end of that character. He should have at least said something to him before walking away, even if it's something as simple as, "Don't worry, Proxy, I'll be back for you." I mean, I keep saying this, but this whole segment here feels really just tossed together last minute. Either way, we take an elevator up to the top of the tower that is blasting these raw metals into orbit for them to use. And after being stuck in this room for a minute, because for some reason I forgot that we can actually use force push to open doors, little embarrassing moment for me, we overload the railguns, shooting the metals into space, causing a small accident.
What's going on out there, boy?
One of the Star Destroyers, it's headed right for me. I gotta get out of here.
You'll never get clear in time. You need to pour it into the cannon.
What? You're insane, it's massive!
You're a Jedi, boy. Size means nothing to you. Reach out with the Force and grab that ship, or you will die on this trash heap.
Okay, I love how plausible this is to Coda. Admittedly, this is where the rule of cool kinda just overwrites any logical sense. I don't think Yoda's size matters not speech was meant to be taken to this extreme. I mean, if Starkiller can do this, then Palpatine should have been able to just throw that rebel fleet into the fucking moon with ease. I do hear some people criticize the gameplay here with us having to take out waves of ties and then repeatedly pulling the ship down. But let's be real, it is really fucking cool ripping a Star Destroyer out of the sky. And the controls for how it's done, I don't really think are that bad. And I can't really think of a way that would make more sense without turning the whole thing into a cutscene.
starship been destroyed? I repeat, has the starship been destroyed? Respond. Boy!
Relax, General. I'm still here.
Good. Good. We'll see you back at the ship.
Master?
Proxy! Are you okay?
Yes, I think so. But I think it may be best if you leave me here.
What are you talking about?
The shockwave. It burned out portions of my processor. My primary programming has been erased. I'm useless now.
Proxy. You're not staying here. Come on.
Okay, I know everyone thinks the whole Shockwave wiping away his Prime Directive is pretty silly, and I 100% agree with that. But it is nice to see Starkiller's reaction to it. His response really does show how much he has changed as a character by this point.
Your actions on Raxus Prime have left the Emperor most displeased.
The Emperor's enemies are still scared. I am just now earning their trust. If I am ever discovered talking to you, if they even suspect my past, all that will be destroyed.
Do not wait too long to contact me.
Can you trust him?
Vader won't risk my mission, even if he has doubts about me. Have we arrived?
We've reached Corellia. They're all here. Bale and his allies. You have your Rebel Alliance. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Just trust me. Okay? I'm doing the right thing. For both of us.
We agree that the time for diplomacy and politics is past. It is now time for action. If you are willing to lead us, then we'll join your alliance.
As will I.
I thought you were passed out in the cargo hold.
I finally came to.
It is settled then. My wealth will fund the rebellion while Garm provides our fleet and Mon Mothma our soldiers. And with you leading us, we have the power of the Force on our side. Therefore, let this be an official declaration of rebellion. Today, we all vow to change the galaxy. And one day, the galaxy will indeed be free.
Proxy! Cut transmission! Take them alive. The Emperor wants to execute them personally. You have done well, my apprentice.
You agreed to stay away!
I lied, as I have from the very beginning.
You never planned to destroy the Emperor.
Not with you, no.
Without me, you'll never be free.
Okay, a lot of stuff just went down and we need to talk about it. First off, I love the way Vader tells Starkiller he was lying to him. It just sounds so funny to me for some reason.
I lied.
Second, this whole plan by the Emperor and Vader is not very thought out and brings into question the point of the game up until now. What I mean by that is when taking this scene at face value with Vader's admission to Starkiller that he never intended on overthrowing the Emperor with him, it kinda makes much of the game no longer make any sense. Sure, you could say that hunting down the Jedi was a way to test if he was ready to raise up a rebellion, but the whole scene of Vader's first betrayal is completely unnecessary and is actually detrimental to the plan itself. Vader could have simply lied and told Starkiller the plan to distract the Emperor with the rebellion without the Emperor showing up and Vader stabbing him in the back. It could have been the plan from the get-go, and it would have gone pretty much the exact same way. The whole scene is not needed at all since no one knew who Starkiller was in the first place, meaning faking his death just doesn't make any sense. You could headcanon the whole debacle as Vader did intend on overthrowing the Emperor with him, but after the Emperor discovered the plan, Vader altered the deal and switched it to this new one with Palpatine to bring the rebels out of hiding. But again, if we're only looking at the game, the quote, "not with you" implies overthrowing the Emperor was never in the cards, making much of the first half of this game kind of pointless. Now, the next issue here has to do with the Emperor and Vader's plan in general. The whole rebellion technically being formed by Palpatine just rubs me the wrong way. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst idea in the world. In fact, it does kind of fit in with the movies in the sense that in episode 6, Luke points out that it's the Emperor's overconfidence that is his weakness. So the fact that it's that same overconfidence in his plans that backfires in creating the rebellion does kind of work for his character. My issue mostly comes down to the fact that the philosophy behind episode 4 is how the more the Empire expands and attempts to crush their opposition, the more things start to slip through their fingers. In Legends, the Death Star's weakness didn't come from sabotage, but instead from their own authoritarian nature that quickly loses sight of the individual in favor of ultimate power. The Ventport is a weakness because at the end of the day they forgot about the very idea of the individual and what he is capable of, and instead set up the defenses to go against a mass assault from another authoritarian regime. In that same vein, the rebellion slowly forming and rising up to topple the Empire as a whole is a continuation of that very philosophy. But having the rebellion started as a bad plan by the Emperor just kind of undermines all that. Again, it's not a bad plotline in general, just one that I feel too directly changes some of the aspects I really enjoy about the original trilogy. Oh, and I have to say, it is funny that Proxy changed into Obi-Wan to fight Vader there.
They're gone. Vader took them all. To the Emperor.
I don't understand. Then why would Vader let us attack so many Imperial targets?
To sell the deception. Credits, starships, Imperial lives, they're all meaningless to Vader. Vader needed me to find the Emperor's enemies no matter the cost, and I did exactly what he wanted me to.
Yes, you did. But now the fate of this alliance rests only with you.
We're going after Vader. And the rebels.
What are you doing?
Meditating. A Jedi can sometimes sense visions of the future.
Have you done this before?
Never been a Jedi before.
What? What did you see?
A massive space station. Keep the ship cloaked and wait beyond scanner range.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
Well, then maybe we're doing something right.
Am I going to see you again?
If I can free the rebels, they're gonna need extraction. Probably not, no.
Then I'll never need to live this down.
Goodbye, Juno.
Okay, I know that kiss scene was a little cheesy, but man does he save it with that fall through the Death Star. I wish I could play it with its original audio, because it uses the track from the Mustafar scene where Anakin cuts down the CIS leaders, and it works so insanely well here. I almost had goosebumps. Now I don't know how they exactly found the location of the Death Star, but we can just chalk that one up to the Force being the Force and not think too much on it. Point is, we're here now, and this is the last level of the game. And it's a damn good one. Starting off here, we have this crazy combat encounter with Dark Troopers, Snipers, and Walkers combined. It does a good job at setting the standard for what's to come. Afterwards, we get this really cool section going through one of the beam lenses while having to avoid the laser as they run test firings. For the most part, we're going to be following this beam almost all the way to the Emperor himself. Since a big part of this game is its larger-than-life set pieces, you couldn't really just have us run through the same corridors we've seen time and time before. So these sections that show how the lasers achieve their power output is a great way to allow us to still have that same experience that we have come to expect at this point. The final standard enemy section of the game is around where multiple of the lasers converge before joining the others for the full laser blast. And this section has us facing a little bit of everyone before making our way over to the entrance of the Emperor's observation room, where we are stopped by a Shadow Guard and 4 Royal Guards. Funny thing here, lore-wise, the Royal Guards should outrank the Shadow Guards and possibly be more powerful than them too. Though they don't have the Force, the Royal Guards are handpicked by Palpatine himself for their ability at combat, while the Shadow Guards are in many cases lower-level apprentices that survived Order 66 and are picked up by Vader to help hunt down the Jedi. Despite them being able to use the Force, I really doubt Palpatine would have anyone other than the best of the best by his side. Nor would he allow Vader to have servants that are stronger than his own, so gotta give the Royal Guard the edge if we're talking about the actual lore.
You are all traitors to the Empire. You will be interrogated, tortured. You will give me the names of your friends and allies. And then you will die.
Our deaths will only rally others.
Your very public and painful executions will serve as an example to the rest of the galaxy.
There may be a rebellion yet.
Lord Vader, deal with the boy.
Trained you well, but you still have much to learn.
You have nothing left to teach me.
So here we are at the final confrontation, starting with this section with Vader. In the beginning, we have a normal fight in the hallway, but eventually move on over to the circular room with a ray shield on the ground, forcing us to have to find different ways of harming Vader. By the way, for some reason he actually knows Force Lightning here, and it's even the purple lightning that the Emperor uses. Lore-wise, Vader is actually incapable of using lightning, and in Legends there are a couple possible reasons given. First is that it needs to travel through flesh, and if you don't have an actual hand to concentrate the power into, you're kinda just out of luck. The other reason is one that I think Disney now has as the canon, where Palpatine made Vader's suit weak to lightning, so him trying to use it could possibly take down his own life support system. Either way, the fight continues as Vader smacks us with a box a few too many times until we finally get the upper hand and just really fuck him up. Good lord, my dude.
Yes, kill him. He was weak, broken. Kill him and you can take your rightful place at my side.
No!
Help him!
So here's where we make our choice. Take revenge against Vader while the Emperor tortures Kota, or move to instead save our new family. For this first portion, we'll go with the canon ending and then look at the dark side ending after. So the Emperor here is no bitch, and he will use lightning to mess us up from a distance while hopping around like Yoda. He will also try to throw lightning boxes at us, but we can actually cancel them all out at once with just one use of Force Repulse. We can also deflect his lightning back at him, which helps out a lot. And to make the fight a little easier, different guard variants will rush in, and so long as we kill them quickly, the health they drop will help keep us in the fight. The Emperor definitely took me a few tries, but it never really felt unfair, and each life felt like I was figuring more out, making it a pretty fun final boss fight. But eventually, we do get a humorous quick-time event where Starkiller tosses him around like a ragdoll.
You were destined to destroy me. Do it. Give in to your hatred.
He's beaten. Let it go.
It's a trick. He's stronger than you know, and he deserves to die for what he's done to me.
Maybe so. But if you strike him down in anger, you'll be right back where you began.
Get Bale and the others out of here. I'll be right behind you.
Go! Hurry! Protect the senators!
Okay, so part of me hates that whole you can't strike him down in anger thing, mostly because if you want to overthrow the Empire, this is your golden opportunity. But then again, it's also clear that Palpatine was simply baiting him into trying to strike him down, and maybe Kota could kind of feel that. I mean, Palpatine is still clearly more powerful. However, I will say thematically, I prefer Palpatine being quite weak and frail in body, but held together by his immense power in the dark side, similar to how he was portrayed in Episode 6 as compared to his Episode 3 version, which this game pulls more from for the sake of better gameplay. And that does make sense for the game. I just find it kind of funny watching an old man like him get tossed around like that and then get up like he didn't just break a hip. Also, I had to pull a lot of the music out due to Disney's copyright rules, but one thing this scene does very well is using the track from Episode 6 where Luke was being electrocuted before Vader steps in. It fits incredibly well here, and again, I wish I could show it properly to do it justice. Another great tidbit here is that as Vader steps into the scene, we not only get to see his suit all torn apart, which looks awesome, but we can even see his robotic leg. I just love the little details here.
Dead.
Then he is now more powerful than ever. He was meant to root out the rebels. His sacrifice will only inspire them.
But now we know who they are. I will hunt them down and destroy them. As you always intended, Master.
You must be relentless, Lord Vader. If even a single rebel survives, this alliance that we have unwittingly created will be our undoing.
Are we ready to finish what he started? Then at last, the Rebel Alliance is born. Here. Tonight.
We need a flag to rally behind. A symbol. A symbol of hope.
He's at last one with the Force.
You always knew who he was, didn't you?
I suspected, yes.
Then why did you help us, after all the things we'd done?
When he came to me in the bar, among all his dark thoughts, I glimpsed one bright spot. One beautiful thing he held on to, even at the end.
What?
You.
Alright, so that is the good ending of The Force Unleashed. Now, for most of this video, I have been very positive towards its story, but let me lay down some slight criticism here. The way the Emperor acts in this scene feels very unlike him. He seems nervous, having this "oh shit, what did we just do" moment, with Vader being the calming influence saying not to worry, which doesn't really match either of their characters very well. Which brings me to the next problem. If they know Bail Organa is part of the rebellion, it would not have taken them so long to find him or Leia again. In episode 4, Leia still acts like she can somehow convince them that she's not part of this rebellion, but her father was literally about to be executed in front of the Emperor for it only a year ago. And my last critique is this last moment with Juno Eclipse. I have been defending the love story this whole time, but this writing is still pretty cringe. I like the idea that Kota knew it was Starkiller all along, and I already talked about why Juno had to be part of why Starkiller turned to the light, but the delivery and word choice here is still pretty rough. The idea of ending it with her realizing her impact on Starkiller is fine, and even preferable to ending it with Leia starting up the Rebel Alliance with his family crest, but in practice it falls slightly short. Oh, I nearly forgot, did anyone else notice that you can see through Kota here for some reason? Just kinda strange. But I did say this is just the light side ending. So let's go check out the dark side. So since I had to replay through the level to do this, since I forgot to save before the big fight, I had some fun playing around as C-3PO instead. Kinda funny seeing him of all people take it to Vader. Now the Vader fight itself I think is way harder than the Emperor. There isn't any difficult gimmick or anything to overcome. It's just him walking at us effortlessly, blocking everything we can throw at him and smacking us down a few pegs. He also has no minions to kill, so there's no way to replenish our health at all. I will say though, he does look really badass here, with his armor all torn up and his helmet off, just a really great design. But eventually we overpower him, and C-3PO gets his revenge for being left on Tatooine.
Excellent. Lord Vader was a broken shadow of his former self. I knew that one day you would replace him. You'll have just one final test. Destroy your ties to the Jedi, and at last you will be a Sith Lord. You have betrayed your master and your allies. I knew that you would betray me as well. And now, you have doomed yourself and your friends. You had such promise. You could have been my successor, my equal. But now... But I may still have some small use for you. I still have enemies to find and destroy. You will do my bidding until I find a new apprentice. And then, like Vader, you will be cast aside. Finish him.
Holy crap, that ending gives me goosebumps every time I see it. And editing this video, I have seen it a few times over. It's not a dark ending as in you're evil now, bwahahaha, but instead it's just fucking tragic. Starkiller doesn't make the choice to become evil. He still planned on saving them, but couldn't help but satiate his revenge on Vader first, causing him to lose Coda, his new friends, and in the end has a starship piloted by the love of his life crushed on top of him, killing her as well. Even after being reconstructed, he's still not even a true apprentice for the Emperor, because he is nothing more than a broken man who now feels nothing can ever stand against the dark side, so simply releases himself to it as a servant rather than someone who can control it like a true Sith. And I know I keep mentioning it, but what sells the scene more than anything else is Sam Witwer's performance. Again, I know it sounds strange, but his ability to portray agony and suffering is phenomenal. Now, though the dark side ending might not be the canon ending, obviously, we did get the continuation of that alternate universe through some pretty amazing DLC. All in all, the game received 3 DLC levels, 2 continuing through the dark side ending and 1 that was originally planned as a story level somewhere after Kashyyyk. And let's start first on that one. So after the Force vision of his father, Starkiller at some point thought to try and break into the Jedi Temple on Coruscant to try and get some answers.
No, Roxy, I can already sense them, but this is the only place that I can find out more about my father.
Yeah, that beginning is pretty awesome. Overall, layout-wise, the level really does feel like an actual level, and since it's a DLC, they go pretty crazy with the amount of enemies they throw in. It is relatively short, with us only needing to make our way across this chasm, causing us to go through 2 separate routes to knock this giant statue over, and then to pull this bridge back up. The inside of the temple does look pretty good, and there is this neat engagement here with a bunch of Jedi training droids. However, the main moment is when we approach the Jedi Holocron itself, where our father appears telling us that the blood of a true Jedi flows within us, and we must face the Jedi trials if we wish to resist the dark side and defeat Vader. The trial is kinda silly at first, with us just needing to play a game where we have to use the Force to move a ball along a line, and then play a game of hopscotch. This first portion is kinda boring to be honest, but it does end with a pretty great boss fight where we have to face a Sith warrior before knocking his mask off and finding out, oh no, it's us! It might be a little played out, but the whole idea of the Jedis having to face the darkness within them is a tale as old as time, so I can dig it. Plus, the fight does do something kind of interesting with him, where he switches between his light side self and dark side self, showing the conflict that Starkiller has within. The boss also has this crazy ability that changes your controls. So, trigger may be lightning, forward goes backwards, and jump is now B. It's maddening.
never escape me.
Are you there? Did you find what you were looking for?
Whatever was here, it's gone now. There's nothing left.
So for a DLC, it's really good, but I can also see why it was removed from the main game. It does a great job at foreshadowing the decisions that will have to be made and the dark twist for Starkiller should he allow his emotions to control him. However, let's be real. Not only would this have some pacing issues, but at this point Starkiller still thinks the Emperor is not supposed to know about him surviving. And something tells me ransacking one of the most protected buildings in all of the Empire that sits within a hover taxi ride away from the Imperial Palace would probably raise some alarms. Again though, as extra content, it is definitely worth it, and I would love if other games out there would actually release cut levels as DLC. Just a really cool idea. But let's go ahead and move on to everyone's favorite, the alternate universe DLCs. Oh man, this is still so cool. Redoing the opening crawl but with the alternate universe twist is a great touch, and though I can't play it, in the video the music playing is from the original opening crawl. And what I mean by that is that it's not clean or clear, and has that grainy sound to it that if you had the old VHSs back in the day, you'll probably instantly recognize. Now right off the bat we start to see some of the changes, with the Tanta 4 being brutally destroyed, before Starkiller decides to just go down to Tatooine himself to find the droids.
I sense that you have not succeeded in tracking down your objective, my apprentice.
No, my master.
As I expected, you will proceed to the palace of Jabba the Hutt. His spies are the only reliable source of information on that pitiful speck of a planet. He will help you find the droids you seek.
I will not fail you, master.
We shall see.
I like how irritated the Emperor sounds calling him his apprentice. Like he truly detests that he's stuck with him and doesn't really care at all. Also, it's interesting how Starkiller tells him he will not fail. He really sounds like a child with an abusive parent desperate to be accepted, which is a character angle that suits him well at this point. All in all, the combat here is still the same old same old. However, our lightning is now purple like the Emperor's, which is a pretty nice touch.
Our scanners are showing your route is blocked by the Jarvis sand crawler. If you could find a way to apply a very large amount of force to the side of the crawler, it should be your path.
As we make our way over to Jabba, we face down some Tuskens with snipers. And I have to say, the scenery going up to Jabba's palace is great. It still feels larger than life, while also remaining true to the original movies. Oh look, it's the Slave One. I can't wait for Boba Fett and Starkiller to become good friends soon. So after we break into Jabba's palace and slaughter a ton of Gamorreans, Jabba finally relents and agrees to see us.
The mighty and benevolent Jabba would like to offer...
The Empire seeks 2 droids, Astromech and Protocol. You will be compensated for any information that your spies can provide.
Ano droida Tatooine, Makuna Shirak Dalola.
Sir, Garandan has reported seeing 2 such droids in Mos Eisley.
Master!
Okay, I love that a few Gamorreans fell in here too. So as you might expect, since we've already slaughtered so many Rancors already, obviously this fight isn't going to be as tense as Luke's, just given how powerful we are. However, they did at least try by upping the health on Jabba's. Like all Hutt-based levels, we can even run around and torture some droids, because apparently that and the Rancor is what every Star Wars game developer remembers here. Oh, and speaking of droids, so Proxy is here for some reason, though he is pretty messed up. He informs us that he can use the last of his power to change into one of the guards so that the security droid will open a way out for us.
Thank you, Proxy.
Certainly, Master. It was so good to work.
Kind of a sad ending for him.
Quite a mess you made of the place. Your head's worth a lot of credits. So, I'll be bringing it back to Jabba now.
Oh no, it's Boba Fett! I sure hope his moped crew isn't around anywhere. Admittedly, this fight is very easy, with us just using lightning to short out his jetpack and then just giving him the business. Also, unlike Vader, Starkiller has no problem with disintegration.
I'm afraid I cannot allow you to do that.
I have waited many years to destroy the real Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Alright, here's where the fun begins. A fight with Old Ben, who is a lot more spry than I remember him being. He can also summon an army of training droids, which is kinda funny. However, Starkiller is not amused, and goes ahead and commits the most vicious case of elder abuse ever. I mean, this is just brutal. And right when you think it's over, Starkiller has gotta take it just a little further, and even then he doesn't stop. He decides, nah, that wasn't good enough for me, now stick around so I can kill your Force spirit as well. I mean, this is just fucking nuts, and I love it. And that's it for the alternate version of Episode 4, which brings us to the final DLC, Episode 5, Wrath of the Empire. For this setup, it seems the Death Star was still destroyed, and the rebels are once more trapped on Hoth as the Empire begins their assault. As we hop down and locate the secret entrance into Echo Base, we get a chance to actually take on some Wampas before we go and, well, walk off a ledge.
My lord, scanners are indicating that the ice caverns through which you travel may be a bit unstable. It seems the vibrations from our walkers may be partly to blame. It's possible that I overlooked this when planning your infiltration route.
You failed me for the last time, Captain Kina.
If that is the case, I assure you, I take full...
Damn, Starkiller can choke people through the comms. Dude is over here trying to one-up Vader wherever he can. After jumping around doing some platforming and taking down the shielded entrance, we make our way into Echo Base, where it is now being invaded by Wampas. I absolutely love that they have a Wampa horde assaulting the base here. In the original plan for Episode 5, there was actually supposed to be this whole Wampa assault taking place, but it was cut out due to a few issues. One of them, of course, being just how silly some of the practical effects looked back then. Remember, the whole bit of the Wampa eating and writhing in pain was added all the way in 2011, while the original version showed very little, which, given the limitations that they had back then, was definitely the right call to make. Now, as we fight on, we do get some cool moments where we can actually see the battle taking place outside, including the AT-ATs taking down the shield generators.
We meet at last, son of Vader.
You're wrong. My father was a Jedi. Vader murdered him.
So you have been told.
So Luke here is voiced by Lloyd Floyd, who has played Luke in a few other games out there. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not exactly his biggest fan. It just always has kind of felt off to me. Though I guess it would be pretty hard to get Bob Bergen to come in just to voice Luke for a simple DLC mission, so it's okay. Luke decides to try and sick some Wampas on us before running away, but we do eventually track him down to the hangar where we also find the Millennium Falcon. Cool little detail in the hangar here is that if we use lightning on the X-Wing's blasters, it will actually cause them to fire. After finding a creative way to drop the shields to get to the Falcon, Luke comes out looking a lot more pissed off than normal.
I won't run from my destiny. Or from you.
The first portion of this fight is pretty cool, with the rebels running about and the AT-ATs just sitting in the background. Plus, as we go on to each boss phase, Luke becomes more and more corrupted to the dark side.
This ends now.
Now I will destroy you, Skywalker, as I destroyed your father.
No! I can use the dark side against you.
By the way, Darkside Luke is no joke, and he nearly kicked our ass here. Well, until we threw him in front of a speeder.
Hatred will give you the power to save your friends. Give in to the dark side. Very good. My apprentice.
Oh man, that's it. What a way to end the game. Again, these DLC missions have some great qualities to them that are definitely worth a playthrough after playing through the main game. So, that is The Force Unleashed in its entirety. And I have to admit, my opinion on the game has changed quite a bit compared to when I first played it decades ago. Its story, despite a few issues, is 100% a true Star Wars story. It absolutely understands what it is that makes Star Wars work in a thematic sense. Plus, as I have said throughout this video, the voice acting here is fantastic. I truly cannot imagine anyone other than Sam Witwer as Starkiller, and it's his performance here that really sucked me into the story. However, this is a game, not a movie. So, how is the gameplay after all these years? Well, as I said before, I am not a huge hack and slash fan in general, so my opinion should be taken with a pinch of salt. But I think for a single playthrough, it's fine. The environments are fantastic, and the Force powers add that spice that keeps things from becoming too repetitive, at least on the first playthrough. You see, I played through a lot of the levels twice and sometimes even 3 times to get extra footage and to see how I felt about the replayability. And now I kind of understand why it was I went back to Outcast and Academy whenever I wanted that Star Wars action fix instead of this. Again, tons of fun the first time through, but the second time just kind of felt like more of the same. The encounters just don't have that fluidity that games like Outcast and Academy do. I mean, I can fight the same Reborn a dozen times over, and every time it's totally different. While here, every Royal Guard fight as well as every boss fight felt pretty much the same as before. But as I already said, traditional hack and slash games are not normally my thing, So the fact I had as much fun with it as I did does say something about its quality. At the end of the day, The Force Unleashed is a fantastic game, with a great story, great voice acting, fun gameplay, and should definitely be on every Star Wars fan's must-play list. Alright, so there we have it, another classic Star Wars game down. Now I do plan on going over The Force Unleashed 2 next, which should be a lot of fun considering the fact of I've actually never played it before. However, I have heard some not so great things about it if I'm being honest. However, that should make it for an interesting video, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that one. Also, like I said at the beginning of this video, I made this video because people were commenting in the Jedi Knight series that they wanted to see a Force Unleashed video. And there's one more game that I see commented all the dang time, and you know which one I'm talking about. You all know which one I'm talking about because you keep commenting about it, and yes, I am working on it, okay? It's going to be a long video because it's a long game. Again, you know which game I'm talking about. I can't wait to make it. However, unfortunately for the sake of the video, but fortunately for me, I'm going to be a little preoccupied these next few weeks. And the reason is because, believe it or not, my wife is about to have our, wait for it, third child. Thank you. Thank you very much. But because of that, we're obviously going to be very, very busy over these next few weeks. We're really excited, but obviously things are getting a little hectic right now, especially since it should be happening probably this week. It'll probably happen before this video comes out, if I'm being honest. And so, kind of explains the bags under my eyes right now, as well as the fact of I haven't even shaved my head. I mean, what's wrong with me? Either way, we're going to be very busy, which means that video is going to take a little bit longer probably to make than I originally anticipated. However, I am sure you'll understand out there. Or if you don't, what the hell is wrong with you. Either way, if you like this video, please, of course, make sure you can leave a like on it for the algorithm gods out there, as well as comment below what some other games you'd like to see me look at. Also, if you haven't already, why not go ahead and check out the video I did on my favorite Star Wars action game, Jedi Outcast, over here to my left. Or, of course, whatever YouTube's recommending over here to my right. Either way, thank you again so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you again real soon. Peace.